Now it's going. Now, now we're alive, friends.
Nice.
Sorry for the delay there, friends. Apologize for that.
Oh, are we live?
We're live now.
Oh, okay. I made the mistake of apologizing for having a brand glitch or for having a tech glitch, and given that our account name is Unapologetic, I guess that was a mistake.
Yeah, that's walking backwards on the name, man.
It really is.
All right, we should be ready to rock and roll, friends. Thank you so much for being here.
The current version says like Forrest is the special guest. We should probably have
No.
Danny. Danny, what's your YouTube
Really?
channel's at? Is it Danny Phil Talk?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Let me check it.
I fixed it. Don't worry.
Bada bing, bada boom. All right, very good. I think we're ready to rock and roll, friends. I think everything's working. Sorry for the delay. OBS
We're not live
updated.
on TikTok.
Oh yeah, I didn't go on TikTok yet. I updated OBS over the weekend because they kind of force you to, and they broke one of the features. So now I had to do a workaround for it because thanks OBS. If it's not broke, fix it till it is. That's the mantra of OBS. Anyways, we are live now, and we've got a special guest. We got our friend Danny with us here today. Good to see you, Danny.
Thanks for
Filling
having me
in
on.
for Philosophy Ian.
Yeah.
And then
I could-
let
Thanks
me
for having me
open the
on.
guest box. Glad to have you, Danny. Okay, the guest
Oh.
box is open on YouTube and on TikTok, friends. I'm going to join up on my TikTok account before I forget.
Danny, if you want to hop in on TikTok, so that way then people who are following you can see that you're live, by all means. You don't have to, though.
All right. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, I think my phone is over there, so I'm just gonna let it go.
Okay. Oops, sorry.
I got you. Don't worry.
While you're setting that up, I've always wanted to ask: is all the math behind you, Blitz? Is that like legit?
It's real. Lots of people ask this. So what happened is when I first started when I was first starting my TikTok account, I needed some sort of logo. And so I was just scrolling through my photos on my phone, and the way that I would take notes, so I'd meet with my PhD supervisor, and I would take notes of the blackboard rather than writing stuff down. I would just take a picture. And so this is literally just a picture from some scratch work that me and my PhD supervisor were working on, sometime at the end of my PhD. And I made it my profile picture. And I'm like, well, I need some sort of generic kind of background because I don't have books and stuff to have behind me. And so I made it my background as well, and it kind of just stuck. So yeah, no, this is real stuff that's probably in my dissertation somewhere.
I don't.
I
Think.
think- Yeah, I'm about to say the same thing. I think I'd maybe make it through the introduction of your dissertation, and that's about it.
The introduction is, in my view, pretty well written, I would say.
They're
But
saying
I wrote it, so of course I would say that.
Hold on, they're saying Blitz is muted on TikTok. Let me double check the audio mixer.
That's weird.
Sorry, he should not be muted now. Apologize.
Testing.
I had a setting turned off for a different stream I was doing yesterday.
Testing. Okay. All right, we're good there. And also, hey Danny, so middle person is also muted.
Oh, I'm muted.
Yeah, apparently.
Middle person. Actually, now that we're in the room, I forgot I should put my name up here. All right, so we have names on the screen. Danny
That
is
we
not
do.
middle person, despite him being in the middle. All right, friends, we should have some guests loaded up any minute now. I'm going to look through and read our super chats. Thank you so much for being here. C-Bar, thank you for the $2.99 super thanks. We super appreciate that, friend. And also, Larry Beck is with us this morning. Welcome into Sunday School, Larry Beck. We appreciate the $10 super thanks. And Eli, thank you so much for the $15 super chat. Says, love to see Danny's inclusion with my favorite creators. He was the first person who made me care about TikTok lives. Keep up the unholy
Wow.
work, guys. That's some high praise.
Flattering. Yeah.
And last one from Mindus. Thank you for the $5 super chat, Mindus. Says, finally caught you guys. Thanks for all you do. Finding this channel was like finding out your favorite solo musician made a super band. That's awesome.
You know,
Thank
the
you.
worst part about super bands is that they're often so much worse than the actual bands that the musicians come from.
Yeah, I think because it's more than just being good. Like you have to be able to work together.
There's some synergy required.
Synergy is the right word. That's a really good word, actually. And Gretchen, great to see you this morning. Thank you for the $5 super chat. It says, hear about the new discoveries by Christian paleontologists. They found Contextosaurus and a Presupposaurus Rex. LOL. Hail atheismo and rock hard for Doug. Big W, yeah. I know this. If they're claiming that they found Contextosaurus, I don't believe it. They've never read a single word of context from the Bible, but I do believe that they've stumbled upon a couple presupposauruses. That's a tough word. For everyone who don't, if you're here and you know Dr. Blitz and you know me, and you don't know Danny, can you tell people kind of what kind of content you engage in and what your training is in?
Yeah, so my training is in philosophy. I have a couple degrees in philosophy, um, and I'm mostly interested in online and having discussions about philosophy, religion. Although I talk about other things as well. Um, yeah, I basically do something like this, except it's just usually me. Sometimes I collab with other people, obviously, but yeah, I just get guests on and I talk about Christianity. I mostly talk about Christianity because I know most about Christianity as far as other religions go. I was a Christian for about 20 years, I think. I remember being a Christian in 1999. Let's just put it that way.
You were a Jesus
Um,
freak back in
yeah, I
1999.
was. I was. I remember it, and I left Christianity in 2020. So I'm actually rather new atheist. People might think that I've been an atheist for a while, but no. So yeah, I do stuff like that. I like talking about that kind of thing. So
COVID pulled you away from God.
That's what it is. Evil virus. Well,
By the way, people are saying Danny's voice is quite low on YouTube
uh-oh.
and on TikTok.
I can
So
turn him
I
up.
don't know how to fix that.
Can turn him up. Hold on. He should be louder now. I don't know how loud, but he's gonna be loud.
Is it louder? Is it better, guys? Is that the TikTok people that are saying that? Or no, it says YouTube people.
both people.
Oh, okay.
I do like
Hopefully
the.
it's better.
That's better. Okay, they're saying it's better. Great, great. All right, let's grab our first guest. First guest name. Bring in the bacon. So I can only assume that they're not Islamic.
Or
Welcome in,
Jewish.
bacon.
Yeah, that's some loud
Bacon,
noises.
can you? Yeah,
Bacon.
I don't know what's going on with your microphone, but I assume you're coughing right into it. Anyways, are you at least 18? And do
Oh
you?
shit! I'm not supposed to be in here. I'm not. I didn't even mean to join this. I'm so sorry.
You're
No
Gucci
worries.
Manucci.
You have a good day.
Cheers. Have a good one.
Later.
Yeah, we get a few butt dials. All right, let me grab the next guest. Looks like Donald is next in line, so we'll grab Donald. Welcome,
Donald.
Donald.
Hey, what's up?
Not too much, Donald. Are you at least 18? And do you believe in some concept of a God?
I do, yes. I am 28 years old and I am a Christian.
Cool.
Okay.
And
Why?
Oh, is that a serious question? Okay, yeah, so I'm a Christian.
That's a
because
serious
I
question,
was-
yeah.
Yeah, sure. I was raised in the Christian faith. I took a long period of time to kind of like, if you will, question my faith. And unlike Danny, where kind of when Danny with COVID struck, he probably kind of like deconstructed. I took COVID as a chance to kind of dig deeper, and I found that, through what I saw and the evidence I had at my hands, which was still kind of requires a lot of faith, I still found God. So I couldn't come up with a lot of answers I had. So like a lot of questions I had. I'm sorry.
Is it that you dug deeper during COVID because of all the mess, or because some people?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And there are a lot of people like you, but I just don't understand it. Right. It's through the suffering that you find God. Right. And to me, it just sounds like a coping mechanism. Because if anything, I wouldn't expect that kind of thing if there was a God that cared about everybody's well-being.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously, I mean, that comes like the problem of evil, obviously. So the problem of evil, I mean, like it's a obviously a complex thing. The problem is that I have to obviously grant God certain properties, and if I grant him these properties, it quite literally puts me in a position where I can't question the bad things that occur. I find it like necessarily to be the case that if I grant God all of his properties, if evil does occur, there has to be therefore a reason for it occurring, and it has ultimate good.
So yeah, go ahead.
I'm just, and sorry for butting in, but like, how much evil would you have to see in the world in order for that to change your credence in the fact that an all good God exists?
I would say
Like-
it's an unquantifiable number.
So like any amount of, there's no amount of evil that could make you change your view on this.
Well, correct, because when I think of evil, I think of evil just being the absence of good. I believe that God obviously created a system in which we reside where evil does occur. So therefore, I would kind of also have to posit that God is the creator of evil, right? I just believe it to be the case that God created things and gave us this will to do as we will, and because there is an absence of good, evil is the result of this. So, I mean, there is like it's unquantifiable number. If someone commits a crime, to answer your question, like genocide, for example, terrible. I mean, it shouldn't occur.
Well, what if like everybody was Hitler?
What if everybody? Okay, actually, tell you what. You know what? When I said unquantifiable, let me be clear. Okay, if everybody on Earth was Hitler, then no. I mean, like, then that wouldn't really make sense. It wouldn't follow, right?
Well, why couldn't God have a good reason for allowing that on your view?
I mean, logically speaking, I guess then he could have a good reason.
Right,
yeah,
and that's the point. The point is that you've destroyed the concepts of good and evil, and you can excuse so much evil with saying, oh, God had morally sufficient reasons for doing so, to the point where you can't recognize whether this creator is good or evil. Like everything's consistent with either an evil being or a good being.
Sure. Okay. Well, to answer your question, okay, yeah, in the hypothetical you gave, we would obviously be able, if we witness everyone being like Hitler, okay, we would be able to come to the conclusion that maybe God doesn't exist. But in the reality that we live in, we obviously have a balance of good and evil, and there is more good. Oh, would you guys agree when I say this? There's more good than evil, or would you say there's more evil than good?
I have no idea how you could quantify that.
And I don't think it would matter. I think there's an important point to be made. It wouldn't matter the quantity, because when we evaluate, let's say, teachers or parents, all it takes is one egregious thing to rule them out as good, right? You could imagine a parent that always fed their children, takes them to school, gives them the Xbox, whatever, and then they just decide to punish their kid by cutting off their hand, right? That one act is enough to say that, they're evil parents, and it doesn't matter how much good that they've done in the past, right? There are some things that if a parent does or allows, it disqualifies them from being good, right? So,
okay, just for clarification, so for moving forward the conversation, how are you using the word evil? Because cutting off someone's hand is evil, yeah, but like taking away someone's video game is not evil. Like punishing a child by taking away their video games is not evil.
When we're talking about the problem of evil, we're just using the word evil to mean that which is antithetical to what a good being would want.
Gotcha. So then, but when I'm using evil, I'm thinking like profoundly like wicked, right? Like,
yeah, I understand, right? But in the context of what's called the problem of evil, it's just that which good is opposed to, that which a good being wouldn't want or would prevent.
Okay. Do you believe that it is a case that God would not want a child to be punished for sake of growth? Like, do you believe that like some evils, so do you believe that some evils can occur that just have ultimate beneficial, a benefit to the individual?
I'm fine to say that there might be some suffering or some punishment that's compatible with a good being, but it's the amount and it's the quality of suffering that I see that disqualify that there's in other words, types of punishments, types of suffering that a good being, according to our standards, just wouldn't allow, even if it was the sake of punishment.
Gotcha. Okay, so just to get an idea of when you were referencing, can you give me some examples of what you're referring to when you're saying you have enough sufficient evidence of evil?
Yeah, so it's the same criteria I have for parents, actually. If a parent allows a child to be starved, okay, we would disqualify them as being a good parent. In the same way, God allows many, including children, to starve. It disqualifies them as being a good God.
Okay. Gotcha. So so the same criteria you apply to parenting to like, yeah, I mean it's a fair way to do this. Okay, so let me think how to attack it. Then I would just say like, if God is like the source of all good, in my argument, if God was the source of like all goodness, then he couldn't be evil in himself, right?
The source. Yeah, go ahead.
I guess my question is, how are you getting to the point where you're just arbitrarily assuming that the God is 100% good? Like,
Sure.
how did you come to that conclusion other than that seems to be what you want it to be?
Sure. So I mean, when I'm making this statement that God is all good, it's obviously presupposed in my belief. So therefore, I have to grant him that he's all good to move forward with my worldview. Now, if you're asking me how do I come to the conclusion in itself to move forward with that presupposition, I would just say that he is all good based on my anecdotals.
But
And
yeah,
obviously, you don't want that.
there's a nuance here that needs to be captured, right? Think about the disciples. They had to evaluate based on their own standards, right? Based on what they valued, whether Jesus measures up to the Messiah, right? They couldn't just Jesus couldn't just say, "Oh, I'm by definition good," right? They pointed to Jesus's virtues, his acts, right? What he allowed, what he prevented, as they measured all of that and like, okay, this is either consistent or inconsistent with what our God, how God should be. And so you can kind of do the same thing with the term creator, all right? Substitute Jesus for creator. So let's say there is a creator of the universe, right? We have our values about what a good creator and an evil creator might do or allow. And all I'm saying is that at best, this creator is indifferent. And what's I think most probable is it's kind of sadistic.
Well, I mean, you used a pretty good word there, though. You said that at best indifferent, right? I think indifferent can be good.
No. If you're indifferent to starvation, right, that's a bad thing.
But wouldn't we have to come to the again? So this all boils down to, like, if I ask God to reveal Himself to me, or if He reveals Himself to us in the way that we want Him to, which I would believe to be the case, that would like make you guys convert to Christianity. Which I'm not sure what your guys' evidence you would need would be if He were to show that every single individual would just be a Christian.
Well,
correct?
I mean, I could be persuaded to believe in a God, but I could never be persuaded to believe in biblical Christianity, being that the Bible is so many falsehoods. Like he would have to get rid of the Bible for me to believe that Christianity was true. It'd have to be something different than what we read in the Bible.
Okay, so like in order for you just to posit God, like the preponderance of evidence that you would need if He were to show Himself in that way, we would all just posit God. So He leaves enough room for us to, again, free will for us to choose. Now,
Well, not really. We don't have free will to choose.
Example,
He tortures us with fire for all of eternity if we don't choose Him. That's coercion at best.
Sure. Well, I mean, hell isn't really biblical in that sense, to the extent of like where it's like, well, we can get to that point in a minute. But I guess what I'm saying is like, if I were to like throw a punch at like Blitz and like some magic like bubble stop that punch.
Catching strays here.
Sorry, Blitz. Sorry, Danny or Blitz.
Always,
like, if I were
always beating up on the Jewish guys. What's going on with these Christians?
Okay. If I were to throw a punch at any of the three of you guys, okay, and some magical bubble obviously popped up and stopped me from punching you, we would have to then ask ourselves, okay, there is some outside source stopping the evil from occurring. We would have to posit something. Am I right when I say this? Make this assumption?
Something,
I'm fine to
but
say that.
yeah, but
Okay,
whether
so
or
the
not
problem
that
here is that
something
there
is something, whether or not that something is spiritual is a different question.
That's fair. That's fair. But I guess the point I'm actually getting to here is that if something stopped it, if evil could not occur, we would have to posit an outside source. So He leaves enough room for things to occur where it gives us a choice. But I believe that the evidence He provides to us is quite clear and obvious. And He leaves up for us to decide. Well, I mean, there's just numerous like pieces of evidence. Basically just like how.
Because all the evidence I'm aware of would lead me to believe that this God is fake.
Do you have like pieces we can like attack one by one, and then we just go from there? Or like, do you have some?
Before we get into that, I'd like to address a meta point, which is that it sounds like on the one hand you're saying that like, oh well, he can't give us evidence because then he would take away our choice, and then on the other hand, in the same sentence, you're saying, oh, but he did give us a lot of evidence. So
Okay, sorry. Yeah,
it
let me
seems like you
clarify
can't
that,
hold both.
Yeah, you're right. I kind of can't hold both. We wouldn't like. Okay, so I guess the way I'm wording this is that he leaves enough evidence for speculation, but he doesn't make himself known absolute. Because if he does, we would all then therefore just say God exists. Is that a fair statement?
But that's what he wants. It says in the Bible on at least 2 different occasions as God's desire for all of his people to know him. And that's actually
Right.
the end result, according to Jeremiah 31, is that all people would know him. And he physically and verbally manifested to particular people in the Bible, and they were considered people of great faith. So if he could
Sure.
manifest to Abraham and Moses and others, and they're still able to retain their faith, there's no reason why he shouldn't manifest for us.
And not only
Yeah.
that, but Jesus being the pinnacle of manifestation of God, the incarnation of God, not appeared to people that were murdering Christians, right? Like Paul, right? That's another thing I don't get is that God does absolutely manifest or show himself to people that hated him, right? So I don't see how I don't think I hate Christians as much as Saul hated Christians, right? And yet God appeared to him, right? So that's another inconsistency that I'm seeing.
Yeah, no, sure. So I guess like okay, to go with like they'll attack like one by one here. I would say to Justin, so in regards to what you're saying you said there's evidence to the contrary, I would just simply say that I believe there is numerous again, you already asked like what? Okay, let's just say like there is no rational explanation for our existence. And when I say this, what I'm saying is that if you take into consideration all the evidence that we have, I don't believe there is. When I'm saying none, I'm not saying it's an absolute statement. But
to be clear, and sorry to cut you off, to be clear, what you're about to do is a God of the gaps argument, which is not evidence. You're just saying there's something I personally don't understand, therefore God. But as it turns out, like people who don't believe in your God do have explanations that are rational. You just might not be aware of them.
Gotcha. Well, I'm not trying to God of the gap. So I'm trying to basically I'm trying to fill in here and say that basically there can be anything you want to call it, but there is no explanation rationally for our existence other than external force.
That's just wrong.
External force.
That's just wrong.
Okay. Well, so I mean, obviously you just resort to like, ultimately you're going to just basically say that what is your worldview for how we came to be? Is through evolution?
Well, yeah, I mean, evolution seems to be just an obvious fact. All of the biological world is in favor of evolution, minus like 1% that still want to hold on to weird notions of Christianity. But the reality is, like evolution at this point is, it's just like if you don't accept it, it's because you don't know science yet.
Okay. Sure. I mean, I guess then like we can just start with like Blitz would probably be better to ask this question too. So for Blitz, well, no, sorry, Justin. The reason I'm doing that is because you're a mathematician, right?
I'm a physicist / mathematician. Depends on who you ask.
Yeah, he is, not me.
Okay, yeah, sure. So for Blitz, I mean, like the way I understand this is that in our observable reality that we know to be true, we obviously can't like recreate an actual infinite, or can we do that just in mathematics?
What? Well, so are you asking about like can we measure infinity? No, because you can't measure infinity. That would kind of be, logically impossible. However, what you could, well, perhaps not logically impossible. However, that doesn't preclude physically infinite things from existing. These just might not be measurable things. For example, our universe might be infinitely large. There's good reason to suspect that that's the case, for example. Now, there is no measuring device that would ever say infinity when you tried to perform an experiment or perform a measurement, but that doesn't preclude the universe from being infinitely large.
Okay, so then what you're saying ultimately is that like infinity works as a concept in math, right? But not as like a concrete thing in the real world.
He didn't.
No, what I'm saying is that it does work.
Well, that's why I thought
at least in principle, does work as a concrete thing in the actual world. Like the universe may very well be infinitely large, like the actual physical universe.
And Not to butt in because I'm loving this conversation, but you believe in a God that is infinite. So in your worldview, infinite shouldn't be a problem. If there's no logical inconsistency with infinites existing in your worldview, then there's not in ours.
I hold to the position that I mean, like an infinite can exist in terms of God's, God's like his reign in his actual like how do you say this?
Well, does
He
God
can
exist in the real world?
He exists outside of the real world.
So he's not omnipresent.
He's not
He's
real.
omnipresent. He can operate. So sorry. In the same way that like a person that built a computer, the operator operates outside of it. I mean, they also can operate within it, right? But the actual hardware data and the binary coding can't go outside the actual computer. So the same way.
I've built a lot of computers in my day. I've never actually entered into the actual like software computing level and existed there.
Wait, no. I was saying you can't exist, but you can program, correct?
Well, yeah, but I'm still external to it.
So let me ask you this question: can the actual binary coding of ones and zeros can they think outside of what they are programmed to do?
No, and I can never enter into the binary. I can never be part of the binary. I can only manipulate it from the external reality.
Correct, exactly. So the same way that you can manipulate it, where you can actually be omnipresent from the external.
No, I'm not omnipresent. We'll try this again. I'm always external to what's happening in the software. The software is an abstraction of the physical reality. I can never enter into the abstraction.
Okay, so when you're saying into the extraction, I'm sorry. Isn't binary a man-made concept?
Yes, but it's a physical reality, right? And what's happening in the computer is a physical reality. And the only abstract notion you have is how you interact it with your mind, right? I can never enter the actual computing abstracted world. I can only manipulate it from the external world. So if God is omnipresent, that means there's nowhere where he isn't, meaning he's even in the abstract.
Okay, sure, yeah. So I mean, I'm willing to actually, grant that. I mean, I get what you're saying, but I guess the reason
if God is infinite, then there's no logical inconsistency with something being infinite in the real world, unless you just don't believe that your God exists in the real world, and then we would agree with you that God is imaginary.
Well, the reason I was mentioning let me get to the point here. The reason I was mentioning the computer is that in the same way that the computer had a beginning, the computer can still exist in an infinite system, correct? So if you apply this to God, obviously I believe that God could have created us to have a start, but therefore he exists externally in an infinite. These things are not...
We're not making a statement about the computer. We're still talking about God. The computer is not really
correct. What I'm saying is that the reason I'm saying this is because Blitz had said, or you had said, I'm sorry, that if God is all good and he's all powerful, therefore he can create an infinite, and it should still be able to fall within this power.
I don't think that Justin said that.
No, what I'm saying is that there's no logical inconsistency in either of our worldview with an infinite existing in the actual reality that we live in, because you believe in something that's infinite. And that infinite thing is your God, right? So all we're saying is when it comes to logic, there's no logical reason why we would exclude infinites from the real world. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so when it comes to the physics, like we have actually good reason to think that our universe is actually infinitely large.
But wait, I'm confused. But I've always been under the impression that like an actual infinite basically it just like it instantiates paradoxes.
No, that's just a mistake.
That's apologists. A lot of apologists say that.
What about like
you'll never hear a physicist say that.
What about what?
Well, we have like the infinite past paradox, like Hilbert's hotel paradox, things like that. Correct?
It might be that it might be. I'm not even prepared to accept this, but I'm willing to grant that Hilbert's hotel is incoherent. It doesn't mean therefore there are no actual infinites.
I mean, but wouldn't that necessarily? I mean, but the problem with Hilbert's hotel is that it tries to put into place. Into posit how an infinite can exist, and it just shows paradox.
If there's an incoherence with Hilbert's Hotel or these other examples, the way I see it, unless you have an argument, right, is that at best, okay, maybe Hilbert's Hotel is not possible, okay, but that doesn't mean therefore all examples of actual infinities are impossible. It just you don't get that.
Okay, so I guess like could we like for Blitzen, I guess like, if you want to prove it, I can give an argument. You can tell me their contention with it, Blitz.
Yeah. So what's the issue with having an actually infinitely large universe?
Yeah. So I mean, like, so it would be like, let me think how to word this. So I would say infinity works as like an idea, like in math, you can always like add like +1. You can keep going forever.
Sure.
But when you try to imagine a real, completely infinity of physical things, contradictions arise.
What's the
Like what?
contradiction?
Okay, and then we can get to like things such as like like Hilbert's Hotel. So like,
So-
No, what's the contradiction in the infinitely large universe? Maybe we even grant that you get a paradox from Hilbert's Hotel, but Hilbert's
don't think you
Hotel is
do.
not the infinitely large. I don't think you do either. Hilbert's Hotel is not the infinitely large universe. These are distinct ideas, right?
okay, so you're asking what the actual contradiction in an infinite universe is.
Yeah. What's the actual
I would-
contradiction?
yeah, I would just say that the contradiction would be is that like, sorry, I'm trying to think how to word it. So like, if the universe doesn't have a beginning, then it would have
We're
a,
talking about size. We're not talking about age.
Yeah, sure. So if the infinite was like never expanding, it would have an infinite number of past moments. I mean, to
Right,
read
we're not
today.
talking about age. We're talking about size.
So what do you mean when you're saying size? So obviously, well, like
The size of the universe, not the age of the universe.
okay, so like wouldn't they have to go hand in hand with each other?
No.
No.
Okay, so I mean, like if the universe had, let's see, not sure when you're saying for size. So you're asking with
Like
the evidence,
like my
we
house
have
has a
Apple-
size. My house,
we have
like the
Einstein's
house that I'm in
theory.
is like however many thousands, like 2,000 square feet or what, I don't know how big it is. I'm just living here. But my house has a size. A football stadium has a size. The Earth has a size. The universe has a size.
Sure. I mean, like
What's the
what about-
paradox with the universe's size being unbounded, being infinite?
Correct. Well, wasn't it Einstein that basically determined that the universe is always expanding, therefore it's always shrinking to a singularity?
That wasn't Einstein, and the expansion of the universe is perfectly compatible with an infinitely large universe.
Okay, can you explain to me then? Oh, I'm sorry, Danny.
So like, have you ever played SimCity?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I played SimCity. Yeah.
Okay, so when you're making it, you have a finite amount of, I guess, field or space to put your little buildings on, right? Now, imagine God gets to make SimCity, and he creates a plane where he can build his cities on, but there's no end
You can just scroll forever.
right. There's just no end. It's infinitely long, right? And you can put as many buildings as you want, right? I don't see that God is so limited as to not be able to do that with the actual world. And if there's no limitation there, there's not going to be any limitation whatsoever.
So to be clear, the argument is that things are essentially like always like stretching, therefore there's no contradiction because expanding doesn't mean
No. This like the universe could be static, could be unchanging, could be not expanding, and still be infinite.
Okay.
Just think of a sheet of paper that doesn't have an end. You just you could in principle keep going in any direction.
Okay, so then I guess then just a question if I'm understanding correctly, if this moment right now, Blitz or Danny, is just point A in a linear like timeline.
Why
This
are we
is
talking
point-
about timelines? We're talking about sizes.
Well, because the thing would be the issue would
Because
be is
all
that
of his
even-
arguments revolve around trying to debate the infinity of time.
I mean,
Well, no, I can give you an argument for size. The thing is this that
I think this is an interesting conversation, and if maybe I ask Blitz and Justin whether we want to continue talking about it. I'm fine to prepare that it is impossible. I'm fine to prepare. And it looks like you want to talk about time. I'm fine to say that there's a first moment. There's an infinite series of moments, right? I don't see how it helps you either way, right? But we want to, for the record, we don't think that we're committed to that. But if we found out that
I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off, Danny. I just wanted to say to Justin one thing. Justin, the reason I was mentioning time is because finite age implies finite size.
No, it doesn't.
Well, it does because if the universe
No,
began
it doesn't.
with the Big Bang, well, do you
The
do you
Big Bang
posit the Big
doesn't
Bang?
imply that the beginning was that the beginning was finite in size.
Well, wait. I'm sorry. Wasn't the Big Bang though a singularity?
A singularity doesn't imply finite in size.
But doesn't all like space time everything break down into singularity?
I don't think you know what
Oh.
singularity means.
So in the standard treatment, what a singularity means is that the metric becomes singular. All that means is that the way that you measure distances kind of breaks down, but you can still have like what you would call like an infinite manifold, a manifold without boundary, a manifold that
Okay.
is not compact, and so on and so forth. So like there's no incompatibility, and in fact, for most of even when physicists thought that the universe had a beginning, which is not really the consensus anymore, for like the 30-year period when that was the case, thinking that the universe was infinitely large was the standard belief. It was the mainstream belief, and in fact, it's still the mainstream belief.
So I have something in my notepad here. I just want to read you. So like this is like, okay, because when Justin mentioned singularity, so I was under the impression that like obviously time can't exist in the singularity because the singularity like basically represents a point where like mathematical model of like relativity predicts the collapse of space-time into infinite density. So wouldn't that imply that in the singularity, time itself breaks down?
How can you have infinite density?
Well, no, not infinite. It says that it basically is an infinite density and curvature. So like,
That's what I'm saying. What is infinite density?
well, that's why I'm out here to ask Blitz. I don't know.
Well,
this is what a
there's an internal.
is.
So first of all, most physicists don't think that the singularity happened. Most physicists just take it as this is a flaw in our model, not that it has anything to do with how the real world exists, because this is exactly the kind of infinity that is measurable and would lead to paradoxes. Like you would never expect to get to put your pressure gauge on something and have it read infinity. That leads to serious physical issues, which is why I was talking about non-measurable infinities like the size of our universe. So this is to say the singularity is almost certainly not a real thing. But even if it were, it's not incompatible with an infinitely large universe. And the reason I say that is because what you have infinite curvature. And all that means is that density increases without bound. That doesn't say anything about size going to zero.
Wait, but if there was, but if the universe, if this Big Bang, even if you do grant it, I mean, light can only travel a finite distance since that moment.
Yeah, the point is it would have been infinite at that moment as well.
So prior to the
infinite in size.
There was infinite.
If the universe is infinite now, then it would have been infinite at all moments in time.
The argument for that?
It follows mathematically.
Okay, I'm just like again, I've always been under the impression that basically, I mean, most people that are atheists hold to the Big Bang as being like the moment or the very like conception of the universe, if you will.
No, I don't know a single atheist that believes that.
We know that they believe that obviously there is something before it, but is it space time or what was it? That's the question.
I mean, like we could get into the details of like what the models are, but the point stands is like, and you haven't brought up a relevant refutation. The point stands is that it seems like there's no issue with having an infinitely large universe. Like, I mean, you could say that like maybe an infinitely large universe is incompatible with a Big Bang. The math just doesn't bear that out. Like we could derive it together if you wanted to. It probably wouldn't be a good use of time. But
okay, so
even if it were the case that that like for some reason the universe couldn't have an eternal past, because I know that's where you're going with this. I don't know how that gets you to God.
Well, maybe we have to first establish the first, obviously, premise before we can even get to that. But I guess like let me try one more argument with you. Then I'll let you move on to another person if you'd like.
Well, I wanted to ask you one question before you leave because I'm curious on what you're going to do with it, because it sounds like you've done a little bit of like philosophy work. But go ahead with your argument.
Yeah, sure. What I was going to say, Blitz, would just be like to the infinite universe, or infinite in terms of size. I would just say like, what is it? They call it like the infinite. Was it the infinite matter problem? I don't know. Have you heard that one?
That
would basically
I haven't heard anything described as a problem.
Okay, yeah, sure. So let's just say that if the universe were infinite, okay, in terms of size,
yeah,
there would be like an infinite number of stars, galaxies, and planets. But gravity in infinite distribution would be undefined. So like it would basically be making cosmic dynamics physically impossible.
No, I mean that doesn't follow. So long as the distribution is sufficiently spread out, you wouldn't have any issues with, gravitational potential energies being undefined. You wouldn't have any issues with, like the various differential equations leading to singularities or anything. It just isn't an issue. You could, for example, have, it's fairly easy to show that you can have a universe that is infinitely large and just has one star every 1,000 light years, and that universe will be perfectly stable. I mean, it might recollapse at some point in the future unless you impose some dark energy constraints, which we can talk about that. But there's no like failure for things to be well defined.
Yeah,
Everything is
someone
finite
responded
and nicely behaved.
on that last part you just said. So you basically denied the second part of the argument, because if the universe is stretched far enough, you are essentially saying that the problem with that is that, like, real functioning physics requires a finite universe. I mean, like, that's the
No,
problem.
it doesn't. Real functioning physics does not require a finite universe. Real functioning physics operates locally, which means that it doesn't matter really how big the universe is. What's actually happening nearby, or what's happening in our galaxy, only depends on the things that are nearby. So it doesn't matter if the universe is infinitely large or not.
But infinite mass and energy, like, basically just leads to, like, undefined quantities. That's the problem. Like, if the universe were infinite,
Yeah, because
But
it's hard to.
it's not really relevant.
You can't
It's
measure
not relevant for any
infinity.
of the dynamics.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. All right, Justin, what was your question for me, and then I'll let you bring something else up.
So how are you dealing with, like, the logical violations of the Trinity?
Oh, in regards to the Trinity, that's something I'm still actually looking into, man. Listen, there's a lot of stuff that, I've been watching some videos. What in particular two are you referring to?
It just
Well-
looks like they're three gods.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll let Danny take this. This is my favorite subject for Danny to talk about.
It just looks like when you read the Nicene Creed, you've got three gods, right? They're all
What?
distinct persons, yet they have the same predicate, is God. If you count normally, you just get three gods.
Sure. So I kind of resort to the divine council. So I believe that there is a God. Okay. Well, I mean, we read about this in is it in Ezekiel? Correct? I'm not sorry, not Ezekiel. Where do we read of the divine councils? I
There's a
have
bunch
that.
of them, but the most famous is Psalm 82, and it
Psalm
shows up
82.
again elsewhere. But Psalm 82 is the most popular.
Correct. Okay, so I've been looking into divine council. So obviously we have God where he instructs that he has a divine council that he oversees. Now I believe that, obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, Justin, in Hebrew, when they spoke of I gave my only begotten son, begotten means unique in, like, Hebrew. It's another way for using the word begotten.
No, not typically. They use the verb yeled to refer to the beginning of the child, which is, it could be used metaphorically or physically. Like, whether you have a physical child or a metaphorical child, it'll use the same Hebrew words. Like in Psalm 2, it says that David is a begotten son of God, which clearly doesn't mean he was physically born by God. It's being used in some sort of a metaphorical sense.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. So
Although Nicene Trinitarians will say that Jesus literally came from the Father, it's not metaphorical for them.
right, yeah. So it depends on the denomination, but I guess just to answer your question, I guess I'm
I'm
just
talking
like,
about. I'm talking about the people that wrote the Nicene Creed.
the Nicene Creed. Okay, to be perfectly honest with you, I haven't dug deep into the Nicene Creed myself. So I mean, I would like to have the conversation with you. I just haven't been. I believe I saw you begin to have a conversation on like the Jubilee, didn't you? About that?
About
that was,
Trinity?
I believe
About
it's
something else.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, no. So I've just been looking into that, and obviously, like, how there's this council that he oversees. So I'm not quite sure in terms of if it's angels, if it's like, Gabriel or like people like that, but there's that.
Well, I actually think you're on a good path right now. I think in order to make Christianity coherent, you have to abandon the Trinity. You can go to some sort of henotheistic model where Jesus is like an archangel, and I think that's workable. But the whole three persons in one Trinity concept is nonsense.
Yeah, no, I'd definitely like to come back another time and have the conversation where I'm more like, well versed on it. But I appreciate you guys for having me up. It was a great conversation.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Donald, thanks for coming in, bud.
You guys take care.
Cheers, friend. Well, that turned out to be a interesting conversation. I enjoyed that. We've got a couple super chats, and then we're gonna bring Haley in next. And I think I'm keeping track of who came in what order. So we're gonna do Haley next after these super chats. I am the Big Cheese. Great to see you this Sunday morning. Thank you for the super chat. It says, God can't give evidence of existence because take away choice or free will. Yet lets millions of infants die of starvation, disease, natural disaster, thus robbing them of the ability to exercise free will. I'm with you, Big Cheese, but you got to remember, obviously they were vessels designed for wrath. God needed to put his wrath on somebody. And there's a quote in Jeremiah, it's fantastic, where God says, I am full of wrath and I'm weary of holding it in. This God wants to let loose. But ZM says, this is the best part of Sunday. I love when Danny joins Unapologetic. Thanks for being here. You too, Justin and Blitz. Danny, you're the star of the show, buddy.
I'm just a guest.
And ZM
Next time,
again says,
the vessel of wrath thing, next time I take away my kid's phone or something, and they ask me why, I'm like, you're a vessel of wrath. Right? And then I'm going to use that phrase.
ZM says, by definition, doesn't the universe have to be infinite? Because if it was infinite, then there'd be an end of it. That would be on the other side of that end. What would be on the other side of that end? So I've questioned the same thing myself. Like, why would we think that there's a limit to space-time? It seems like if space is expanding, then either it's creating its own space as it's expanding, or it's just expanding into space. Well, what do you make of this, Blitz?
So look, and this is the kind of thing that actually requires some, I don't want to say like sophisticated mathematical understanding, but like there is something that like most people think that it's either infinite or it has an edge, but that's just not the case. There are absolutely alternatives. In fact, if I remember correctly, there are exactly 18 ways that you can have three-dimensional space, 12 of which are infinite, if I remember correctly, and then the remaining 6 are finite, and none of them have edges. So I should say three-dimensional flat space, which is kind of space that we live in. So for example, this isn't an example of flat space, but consider the surface of the Earth, right? The surface of the Earth is two-dimensional. It's not infinite, and yet it doesn't have an edge. Right? You can travel in any direction forever and you'll never get to an edge. It just loops back on itself. So there's no edge to space. So our universe could very well be finite without an edge and be flat. This would be like a kind of like a three-dimensional version of the Pac-Man world. You go in one side, you come out the other side. That's a possibility. Now, there are reasons to think that that's probably not what our universe is like, which is why, you know, the kind of default position is that our universe is actually infinite. But no, the business of being infinite or having an edge is just not a true dichotomy.
Appreciate that. Yeah, this is why you go to school to learn these high level ideas, because my pea brain type of mind can't envision it without the math. IK says, "Hey guys, love your channel." Well, hey, thank you so much. We appreciate the support. And the last one from our friend the Cheese again says, "Infinites are difficult for a human point of view because hegemonic conditioning, but complicated is not equal to paradox and is not equal to contradiction." And I could agree with that for sure. Something being hard to envision doesn't mean that it's paradoxical or contradictory. It just means sometimes it takes some advanced thinking to get to that end point. All right, we're going to grab Haley from the queue. Welcome in, Haley. Haley? Haley, can you hear us?
Hello?
Yeah, how you doing?
Okay. Hey, good.
Good to hear you. Haley, are you at least 18 and do you believe in God?
Yes, I am 30 and I believe in the God of the Bible.
Cool. And in your opinion, what's the most convincing evidence or argument or reason to believe in this particular God?
Yeah, so one, I would say because in the Bible it tells us that it's through the word of your testimony, right? Through the word of your testimony. And so that is my strongest argument, because you can gain knowledge, but not have understanding, right? So I believe, like, I've gained a lot of knowledge over my years. I grew up believing in God. However, it wasn't until a few years ago. Sorry, my son is in the car with me. We're actually waiting to pick up my husband from singing at church. But it wasn't until like a few years ago that I actually truly would say that I became a Christian. So I had a lot of knowledge of Scripture. I went to Christian school. I went to every VBS. Ezekiel.
What a good Christian name, although it's really a Jewish name.
It is, right? Because Jesus is Jewish. So kind of makes sense that it would be a Christian and a Jewish name.
But you're not driving, just to clarify, you're not driving, you're just waiting in the car?
No, I'm waiting in the car. No, my husband,
Okay.
he's just finishing up singing for second service.
Well, let me ask you a question. Like, it sounds like the foundation for your belief is probably a combination of personal experience and the Bible. But
absolutely, yes.
Why would we trust the Bible?
Why would you trust the Bible? I think that from what I've read from other sources outside of the Bible, I do believe that it has. I do believe that it's sound. I do believe that it matches historical evidence. I believe that there are things in the Bible that would not make sense to have in there if you were just trying to make up some real religion. You know, like why would you have women like witnesses when women at that time would have been unreliable witnesses? So why
Well,
would you add them? Because that would actually
well, that's
like
not
take.
true. In Roman court, you're actually allowed to have female witnesses. In fact, there's a couple of authors from the Roman period, some of them fiction, some of them actual history, that record the testimonies of women in court.
Right, Roman court, right? But
Yeah.
when you think about how it was in Judaism at the time, right, there was
They
a
had witnesses.
separation.
No, they
They
had female
have
witnesses.
witnesses,
If
but
you read the Talmud, you'll find women giving testimony in court.
right, but their testimony had to be backed up, right? They
Well,
had to
yeah,
have multiple, you know. It wasn't like if you really were trying to like, sell a lie, you're gonna try to like have the best witnesses, right? Like if I'm gonna try to sell a
sure,
lie,
but
I'm
that's
gonna pick
true.
somebody that's gonna
Hmm.
be like the best person to be able to back me up on this lie. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna pick somebody that's a little shady because I'm like, who's
but
gonna believe them anyways?
but that's true of men and women, right? So both women and men had to give testimony in the ancient world, whether you're Jewish, Roman, or Greek, and we can debate about whether or not people generally trusted one over the other. But the reality is, both of them were allowed to give testimony. But
Right.
there's
It
lots
wasn't
of
that they weren't
things.
allowed to give testimony. I didn't say they weren't allowed to give testimony. I said that their testimony didn't necessarily carry as much weight. So if I'm
Well,
going to
that
try to pass a
but
lie, I'm going to pick somebody. If I'm going to make this up, I'm going to pick somebody that's testimony is going to carry way more weight
So,
than
well,
somebody
Haley,
whose
I don't think
testimony is
so.
just
not.
just to jump in, like, and Justin, maybe you actually know the answer to this. Maybe I don't know if Haley does. Where did this apologetic come from that, oh, they just didn't trust women back then? Like, I hear that claimed a lot, and like maybe it's intuitive, but I've never seen anything that backs it up.
It's an invention, to be clear.
It's an how
Oh,
do you know
okay, that's
that?
kind of what I figured.
How would you know that though? Because if you look at how women were treated and the power structures, right? I mean, I think we could even say that there's still similar power structures in play today. So,
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that we've got lots of records from the ancient world that record women giving viable testimony in court that holds up. So, like, we
right, I
know
didn't
that
say that
that
it never did. I said it didn't carry as much weight.
right, but based
So
on
it
what
wasn't
evidence?
based on the way that women were treated at that time, the way
Right.
that women were
How were
looked
they?
at and seen as that
But how,
time,
but how
right?
was
Because
that? Where are you getting
think
that
about
information
even
from?
think about even how you were able to get a divorce at that time, right?
Women could get divorces.
Yeah, they could, but it wasn't like today. It wasn't like, oh, I could just like go and divorce my husband at any time, right? There had to be
You had to be a
like
reason.
multiple evidence from other people, right?
Well, no, you just have
And
to have provable evidence. The number of witnesses is irrelevant, but women could
Like I,
certainly. Hmm.
yeah,
But none
sorry.
of this. Sorry, I'm gonna say none of this is actually relevant to whether or not the Bible is true. Just to be clear.
And I wanted to point out the inference that you're making. Like, would you say that women had less rights 200 years ago than as compared to today, Haley?
200 years ago,
Yeah, in the United States.
yeah,
Right, but you can't go from there to therefore a court testimony was less valuable, because if someone were trying to argue that in court a woman's testimony, right, didn't matter less, right, that's very hard to show, even though it's true they had less rights and were treated very inferiorly in our society. So that's what we're trying to say. It could be that it was unfair for women back then in terms of the power struggles or the rights or whatever, but it doesn't mean that therefore their testimony in court didn't that it mattered less.
I would argue that because I think that our perception of people automatically, like how we view people on what level we view somebody. If we don't view somebody as the same level as us, right? We don't, what they have to say, we automatically is going to take it less, right? If my husband comes and tells me something, right? I'm going to be like, okay, you know what? I'm more likely to believe you than if somebody else over here comes and tells me something, right? Because it's how I perceive. I perceive my husband as trustworthy. I perceive my husband as a good person, right? But if I see somebody else and I'm like, you know, like you actually aren't that important to me. I don't see you as like an equal, right? I don't think of other people this way. But in general, like if I, you know, if I was like, I don't see you as the same level as me, right? I mean, let's look at, for instance, right? Like with racism. You cannot tell me just because people said black people didn't have like the same level of intelligence or the same level of understanding and knowledge, you cannot tell me that then they would also therefore carry, like, say that their witness in court would be the same. They didn't, because they wouldn't, because how you feel about people is going to affect how you view their information as believable or not.
But at the same, okay, but again, are you saying that 200 years ago, a woman's testimony in the United States in court mattered less? Or is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, I would, because I think if
Yeah,
you
I
see
don't.
women as
It's
less,
there's as
you're
much
going to see
evidence.
their
There's as much
testimony
evidence.
less.
There's as much evidence for that as there is for the claim that a woman's testimony 2,000 years ago in court had was less believable. I just don't think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's also like none of this is actually relevant to whether or not the Bible is true. Just to be clear, the Bible just says things that are flatly false. Like literally, the first page of the New Testament has a lie in it. You want to see it?
What is it?
It's like literally page number 1. Let me put it
Okay.
on the screen. 1 second. You should be able to see. Oh, let me put it on the other screen too. You should be able to see my browser here. Zoom in. So it says in Matthew 1:11 in the lineage of Jesus, it says Josiah, the father of Jeconiah and his brothers. But that's just not true. Josiah wasn't the father of Jeconiah. The father of Jeconiah was Jehoiakim. Jehoiakim was the son of Josiah. Like, so literally the first page of the New Testament starts out with a blunder.
With Josiah, the father of Jeconiah.
Yeah, Jeremiah 22 and First Chronicles both record the lineage of Jeconiah, and he is the grandson of Josiah, not the son of Josiah. Matthew got it wrong. And he did the same thing. Matthew actually does the same thing in the lineage. He misses 3 other individuals. If you go to the lineage in Matthew chapter 1, the children of Joram, there are 3 generations missing after Joram. It says that Joram was the father of Uzziah. There are 3 individual people in that lineage between Joram and Uzziah.
I honestly would have to look into that. Thanks for coming. I guess that was something I didn't notice. I mean, it doesn't change my opinion. I feel like, you know, I feel like every time there's like a mistake, once you look into it deeper, it ends up making sense, right?
I actually have looked into this deeper. I can show you where it gives you their children.
Determined.
Yeah, so if you go to First Chronicles, it just tells you, it says that Joram was the son of Jehoshaphat, Ahaziah was his son, Joash was his son, Amaziah was his son, and then finally Azariah was his son. Azariah is the other name for Uzziah in the Old Testament. He's got a nickname, just like Coniah was the nickname for Jeconiah. So there are 3 individual people between Joram and his great grandson Uzziah.
Yeah, I think my first instinct would be to look to see what they did and who they were and what type of life they lived, because I think that would be right, because I think that would be very telling.
We're talking about who begat who.
Excluded. Yeah.
No. The reason for the exclusion is irrelevant. The reality is Matthew says that these people were born to certain people. If it says that if it says that the father of Uzziah was somebody other than his father, then it's just not true. It's something that's not true.
What about Joseph, right?
What
So
about Joseph?
the tribes of Israel, right, are all actually considered the children of Abraham. But we have the Ephraimites and the Manassites, right?
Right, but it says in the
But are
lineage, it
they
says so and so begat so and so.
right? But because so all of the tribes of Israel are considered to be the children of Abraham. However, we know that Ephraim and Manasseh were the children of Joseph, his son, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they don't say that. They don't say, oh, and then
They
it's the
do.
children of
What do you
Abraham, and
what do you
then
think? What
it's
do you
the
think the
children
author of
of
Matthew chapter 1 is
Joseph.
doing?
I can't say for sure because I haven't done the research on that, but I think that it would be very telling to see what kind of life they lived.
The life that they
Like
lived
who
is
they were.
irrelevant. He's
I don't believe
establishing patrilineage. He's establishing the lineage going back to King David to demonstrate that
right.
Jesus had the lineage of a king. So what's happening here is he's naming off the individual lineages, and he's even counting them. He also miscounts, by the way. But if you're reading the lineage, it says so the generations. Sorry, I'll put it back on the screen. It says so the generations from Abraham to David were 14 generations, and from David to the deportation in Babylon, 14 generations. That's false. There's actually 3 generations missing. There wasn't 14 generations. And then he says from the deportation of Babylon to the Messiah, 14 generations, which is also false. If you count the last set of generations that he lists, there's only 13 of them. Like Matthew's just a goof.
Okay, but this is what I said when I said knowledge and understanding. You can gain knowledge, you can see all that, you can gain all of you can see what it says, right? But understanding
I
is
have
like how
understanding.
you okay, but that's what I'm saying. You're saying it doesn't matter what they did. But the truth
what
is
they did is irrelevant. The question is who begat who.
no, it's not. That's not
Matthew 1 is establishing a patrilineage. It's establishing who was the father of who. It's not establishing which people in history we prefer.
Are they gone?
I don't know what happened. Did you turn your car Bluetooth on or something? What's going on over here?
I think that it's like, because if you look, it says like God does talk about like blotting out generations, right? He's like, wicked generations, we're gonna blot you out. We're not gonna include you because you were wicked and evil. That was one of the things that prophets would be like, yo, you're gonna get blotted out because you are not following in the ways of your ancestors.
But
so
Matthew explicitly lists one of those kings that God blotted out. So, for example, if we're in Matthew still, I'll put it back on the screen. If we're in Matthew, he includes Jeconiah. It says, after the deportation to Babylon, Jeconiah, the father of Salathiel, Jeconiah was blotted out in Jeremiah 22. He includes, and this is another thing that precludes Jesus from ever being a king, because he certainly isn't allowed to, because in Jeremiah 22:30, he says of Jeconiah, record this man as childless, a man who shall not succeed in his days, for none of his offspring shall succeed in sitting on the throne of David and ruling again in Judah. He was so wicked, God said, nobody that comes from your loins will ever be able to sit on the throne of Judah. But Matthew includes this clown show in the genealogy.
Yeah, he did. And like I said, I think that, yes, that's a part of like, okay, he said that, but also what was happening around there? What else happened? Who did come after him? What did they do? Here's the thing, because God is a God of redemption, right? Like all the time, he's a God of redemption. So I think that it is very yes, I think it's great that he included him, because then it shows, oh wait, you know what? But God is a God who is full of grace and forgiveness and love and redemption. And
Haley,
that is the
how do you
whole
think
point
that
of everything.
how do you think that addresses my point?
What?
How do you think that addresses my point?
Your point of why did he take out some people and put some people in?
No, that wasn't my point. You said that the Matthew left out certain generations because they were cursed by God, but he
I said
explicitly.
maybe. I said that was my
Okay.
my first thought. I said I didn't look into
and then
it.
the
but that would be my
maybe
first thought.
falls flat because he includes Jeconiah, someone who was explicitly cursed.
I don't think it necessarily does because, like I said, God is a God of redemption. So I would say
well,
that
then your initial
we
talking
take
point
into
fails. If God is a
consideration-
God of redemption, then whether or not he cursed somebody is irrelevant.
But I think what happens around that person, I think like who came after him and who came before him and what happened during that time all takes into is taken into consideration, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, like I said, you can have knowledge, but I'm not gonna lie. I truly
Sounds like you
believe
don't
without
have.
the Holy Spirit.
Sounds like you don't have knowledge. How come you don't know these problems are in the text? Like, so for example, like Mark, literally the first page of Mark has an error too. Mark attributes a quote to Isaiah that comes from a different prophet. He says, as is written in the prophet Isaiah, see, I'm sending my messenger ahead of you who will prepare your way. That's not in Isaiah. That's in Malachi 3. That's a quotation from Malachi 3.
Right. Okay. It's in Malachi.
Isaiah didn't write that.
Did he say something similar?
He did say something vaguely similar, but he didn't say that.
And then also I would say, are you sure that we have every single thing that Isaiah ever said, right?
Well, Jesus seems to think so. We've got the same Bible Jesus was using, and Jesus says that God's words can't fail.
They don't fail.
So
They
then
don't.
we got them all.
That doesn't mean that's not what that meant though. So
Yeah,
that's knowledge.
we have
He
the
said that, but that's
manuscripts
not
from
what he meant.
Isaiah. We know what Isaiah said. He didn't say this.
But here's the thing. First of all, we don't know everything Isaiah said.
Why in the world would you be thinking that
so-
there are missing manuscripts?
So when he said that my word
God
never
God
fails,
decided he wasn't going to preserve his word after saying he's going to preserve his word?
he said my word never fails, right?
Did God preserve
What
his
he
word?
means- Absolutely.
Then we should have the manuscripts from Isaiah.
He said, okay, so that's not a really good argument because you said you want to quote Jesus and say his word never fails, but then you don't want to stick with what you just said.
Jesus didn't say
I'm
that.
trying to tell you. That's what you just said.
No, I'm saying Mark said the thing that is in error, and Jesus says that you
Jesus
shouldn't live
said
on
it.
bread alone, but on every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. And if we don't know the
Yes,
words that
yes,
proceeded
yes,
from the
every
mouth
word
of
that
God, then
proceeded
Jesus
from
is
the
literally
mouth of
sending
God.
us on a wild goose chase to guess what God might have said. But the God of the Old Testament says that he preserves his word.
Mm-hmm.
So if he preserves his
word
words,
never fails, and
that
we
means
do
we
live.
have them.
I think that we have, yes, everything that God said.
Okay, then if we have
Doesn't mean we
everything
have
that God
everything
said through his prophets, that means we
Isaiah
have.
said.
No, the only
Isaiah is
words
not
of God
God.
that we have are the words that he spoke through his prophets. God didn't write anything.
I mean, that's obviously a Christian belief and a standpoint is that every scripture is what God breathed. So that everything that is in scripture was not necessarily God didn't come down and write it himself, but is all the word of God.
So do we
So
have
that
the
we
word of
say
God
that
or not?
did. Yeah, we have the word of God.
Okay,
And I would say I believe that we
means that
continue to have the word of God.
It means Mark screwed the pooch.
No, he didn't.
He did. Matthew does the
No.
same thing, by the way. In Matthew 27, Matthew misquotes Zechariah. This is if you had even cursory knowledge of the Bible, you would understand why these problems are actual problems rather than making up fanciful histories about them. But
No,
in the
that is-
in the
okay, but
betrayal
you
for the
are.
30 pieces of silver, I'm certainly not doing that. So in Matthew 27, it talks about the betrayal for 30 pieces of silver, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. It says, then was fulfilled what had been spoken through the prophet Jeremiah. And then he quotes the supposed Jeremiah. It says, they took the 30 pieces of silver on the price of the one whom, the price of the one on whom a price had been set. That doesn't come from Jeremiah. That's from Zechariah 11:13. There's no
But he said it was.
prophecy. There's no prophecy of in any book of Jeremiah that talks about 30 pieces of silver.
I did it just cut out.
In fact, I'll literally Venmo you $100 while you're in the passenger seat if you could find me this quotation from Jeremiah.
Okay, so first off, one, can you please not cut me off? I have been very, like, I've let you speak, right? Like, every time I have let you say exactly what you're going to say, and then I wait, and then I respond. I find it, like, if you're going to have a conversation with somebody, you definitely need to let them speak as well. Because really, like, you aren't trying to, like, you're not trying to hear, and you're not trying to listen. You're just trying to win, which is okay. I get it. But there's something that I said at the very beginning of this conversation that comes into play that you have not allowed me to
There's a
expand
lot
on
of meta.
the entire time.
Well, what did you want to say? Go ahead.
Okay. I began with speaking about the difference between knowledge and understanding. And every time you come up with something, I have tried to say that there is a very specific reason why I said this, right? I think because I forget which one of you at the very, like earlier had said that you believed in God at one point, and then, like, 2020 came, and
Does this address the passage we just read? I'm confused.
wait, yeah, it will. It will
Okay.
address everything. Like, honestly, anything and everything. This is, like, I'm trying to tell you, like, you want to know, I believe in God. Why do I believe in the Bible? Why do I think that it holds
No,
true?
I don't want to know any of those things. I don't want to know any of
Oh.
that. I just want to know where in
Oh,
Jeremiah
okay.
does this quote come from?
Well, I thought that was the whole point of this conversation, was you wanted to talk to people who believe in God, and then, so I guess I'm confused then.
I already
Can
know
you
that the
please
Christian
explain?
God doesn't exist. That's not even
Can
a
you
question for
explain
me.
then, like, what is the point of this? What
This
is
is
the point of your life?
educational.
What is the point?
We're making.
It-
My goal is to make Christian read the Bible for the first time because they've never read it.
Interesting. Okay. That's your goal, is to make people read the Bible.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
why I told you
honestly,
I'm
cool.
pay,
I guess we're on the
I
same
pay you to
page.
read the Bible. I told you I'd give you $100 if you find that quote in Jeremiah for me.
I guess we're on the same page then, because you
I'm
know
charitable.
what? I love when people read the Bible as well.
Not enough
I
to find
really
the
do.
quote for me.
I'm not saying, you know what? I think that what you said is true. I don't deny that. I
Okay.
think that, like, like, you have your evidence. And that's why I said what I think about understanding, right? I believe that you can have all of the knowledge. This is why I brought up the person who had said that they believed in God at one point, because I totally understand that. Like I said, I grew up in church, in faith, in school, in everything, having to memorize scripture for years and years and years.
If I could ask,
right? But
if I could,
wait, hold on. Can I finish, please?
yeah, but you're giving some kind of history.
Yeah,
some
no
kind
one cares about your life story.
Right.
Okay. Well,
But I am interested in why there were a lot of books early on in the second, second century, a lot of gospels. How do you know you have the right one? How do you know you have the right scripture?
how do I know? I think, okay, so the thing is, like, if you don't want to have faith, if you don't want to, right, you can, like, that friend that, like, they keep making bad decisions, or the person they're hanging out with is, like, just, like, always bad news, and they can't figure out why.
Maybe I was
because
unclear.
they don't
Look, I was
wanna see
unclear.
it.
Let me make the question a little bit easier. Sorry, my bad. Take for example the Gospel of Thomas. Why does that not belong in your Bible?
So the way they did the Nicene Creed, or like the Council of Nicaea, was they decided that it had to have stipulations. There was rules, so it had to be the
That's not where
author
they
had
formed
to.
the Bible. That's not where they formed the Bible. The Council of Nicaea wasn't there to establish a canon.
Okay, then I have the wrong one. But when they did, it was the rules were for canonization was that it had to be congruent. It had to
Wait, what?
Con-
Where
it
you get
had to
that
be
idea
like,
from?
where did I get the idea of it being congruent?
Yeah.
I mean, did you look it up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah. I've actually studied history.
oh, great. But it had to, like, the Book of Enoch is not in there because they couldn't establish authorship, which isn't like a huge thing, but
Well, that's
also
not
the author
necessarily the
the author
reason.
the
Tertullian
author
gives
that
a
did
defense of it, by the way. Tertullian writes a whole treatise on why it's actually inspired scripture. In fact, the first 400 years of the church, literally every church father that brings up the Apocrypha says that it's scripture and that it's prophetic. Justin Martyr even makes a defense saying that the Jews took them away because they speak of Christ.
I would not, like, honestly, with the Book of Enoch, like I said, I am not saying that it couldn't be, right? I also, like, believe that there is evidence that it could be. I really do. Like, I just said that the other day to somebody else. Like,
Jude says it's scripture. It's scripture. He says it's prophetic.
that's why I do believe that it is. However, there is other instances where other books that were clearly not scripture are also referenced in the Bible. So I think that was, why it's not like, oh yeah, for sure this is scripture. But overall, I misjudged this. I should have listened longer. I thought that this was actually supposed to be a conversation. I thought that this was, honestly, I thought it was meant to also be respectful, honestly. But
Sounds like you're just mad because we won't let you monologue.
no, that's not it. I was trying to give understanding of,
You don't have understanding. You don't
why
even know. You don't even know the passages. How could you give us
I
understanding about passages you've never read before? Like claiming
I
that
didn't.
you have
Okay, that is
understanding of
not
things that you don't even have knowledge of is crazy.
okay. Okay, first of all, there's a lot in the Bible. And so just because I don't remember everything doesn't mean I've never read it before. That is a false statement. You came in prepared with this stuff, right? So
Because
just
I've
to
read
say
it.
that you think I have read Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. I have
Not
read
not enough.
Jeremiah, Isaiah. I have, like I have read the Bible.
Sounds like you're not
I
capable
don't
of
have
rightly dividing the word.
See, that's what I mean. See, that's extremely like I honestly that's extremely disrespectful.
Haley, I think you need to study and
I
show yourself
truly
approved.
approved by who?
Approved by your God. Your God's disappointed. You don't even know what's in his book. You think there's a God that created literally the entire universe, murdered his own son for you, and then wrote you a book about it, and you can't even be troubled to read it in detail? What a weird
Oh
thing.
no, I
When I
do
was a
read it,
Christian,
and my
I
God
read
is
the
not.
Bible every day of my. I literally slept the Bible next to my pillow.
Oh yeah, same. My Bible's on my bedstand. It's on my phone. It's on my computer. It's everywhere. Um, I think though, but well, actually, I know that my God is not disappointed in me. I know that my God loves me, and you know what? He is also loves you too,
I'm
and
sure.
Well, you
he
can be
does.
both. God could be
He
disappointed and love you, right? That's not
Hmm.
incompatible.
Oh yeah, of course, but he's not disappointed in me right now. I already know it.
Well,
I already know. And
the
like
point is that you kind of suggested it. You said that Justin was prepared, insinuating that you came up unprepared.
okay, I was unprepared in the fact that I thought that the point of this was something different. I really thought that it was about respectfully, having like yeah, we don't agree, right? But there's a way to disagree. Like that is actually like reasonable, right? I do enjoy like just talking to people with different beliefs than me. I enjoy like hearing what other people have to say. I do. I appreciate everything that you said, right? But because like you are a fellow human being, like I don't like you see people who believe in God as less than, And that
No,
is
That's
that's
a
not
wild
true.
For the
claim.
record, no, right? No.
then
Um,
why do you treat people like that?
Are
Why,
we?
if
What's
your
the? Is it
goal,
the
We're,
interrupting?
there is
Wait,
no,
is it the? What
yeah.
is it that? Is it the interrupting, or is it that? Look, I'm ignorant of stuff. We're all ignorant of stuff, right? Here, the
yeah.
topic is about the Bible, right? So if we're talking about the Bible and we're having a disagreement, a debate, right? Then the expectations that you should know some stuff, or at least know how to respond to the questions, which you don't. So then
And
there's a question about you probably requested irresponsibly.
yeah, and to be sure, Haley,
Excuse me?
the reason why you're getting this cold treatment is because you started the conversation with insinuating that I don't have knowledge or understanding, or at a minimum, I have knowledge but no understanding. And then you proceeded to talk over me, which is why I continued to talk over you. And then you cried about me talking over you and not letting you monologue. So maybe what you need to do is listen to this back and consider whether or not you're the reason why you're getting this treatment.
I tried to give understanding of what I meant about knowledge and understanding. I also, you know what, I apologize. I did not mean to talk over you. I, if you would have said right away that I did that, I would have apologized right away. And you know what, I'm very sorry that I did that.
It's
Okay,
And
me
actually not
too.
a big deal. It happens. Look, it happens in debate, right? I don't know. Maybe this is not exactly Sunday school where just like we let people talk all like, sometimes we interrupt. Sometimes it's good to interrupt because if I'm just yapping, you should interrupt me, right? Like sometimes interruptions are good, and that's part of debating. All right, it's not. Don't take it personally.
I just think that how do you, like I said, I was wrong. Okay. I was wrong about, like, sometimes there's things on here where, people just want to have a conversation. They want to.
Oops. My finger slipped.
Oh no.
Oh no. We don't
Yeah,
get
I
to hear
was
more
getting very
meta.
sick of the meta. I was
Yeah, I
getting
don't
very
want
sick of
to.
it.
I'm not going to go round and round on the meta. You're
Uh,
right. You
uh,
were definitely wrong, Haley.
and look, just to put a final pin on it, like, and people accuse me of interrupting a lot, and I definitely do interrupt a lot, and I blame my ADHD on that, and also just me being a bad person, I guess. But people, especially people who don't get involved in debates a lot, aren't very good at expressing themselves, expressing their point concisely. And so if somebody comes on and they're meandering their way to make a point and it takes 10 minutes, I'm sorry. It's so reasonable to interrupt you and just ask you to get to the point, or to interrupt you to correct the very first sentence that you made that was wrong. Right? If the first thing you say is wrong and then you're going to go on for 10 minutes based off of that first thing, it's a waste of time, right?
Right. And if this was a time debate format, then you could yap. And we'd love for you to yap about something irrelevant to burn up your clock. But we don't have clocks here, and we're actually trying to keep the conversations concise. But let me grab some super chats. We'll get our next guest in here. I
Please
believe
do.
it's going to be Caleb and then Juan in that particular order. We've got a super chat from our friend Garba Gaiman. Thank you so much, my
Garba
friend.
Gaiman.
The legend. Says, using some of my birthday money to request a killer argument that religious people are more likely to use corporeal punishment on children, arguably the worst impact of the Bible today. I mean, I think Ian has run the argument that the Bible endorses what we would consider abuse nowadays, and spare the rod, spoil the child. And I think the data has borne that out, that children that are spanked do not have better outcomes. And so if it's the case that the data backs that up, that literally beating your children doesn't produce better outcomes, and it's just the fact that the Bible doesn't know how to rear your children. I don't know. And Tim, thank you for the super chat. Says, first Force, now Danny, y'all are spoiling us. Listen, we are spoiled. We are spoiled.
By the way,
friends.
just to comment on that, very, very simple Google search. There was a pretty exploratory study of a few thousand parents, but what they found is that parents who attend religious groups use corporal punishment more frequently than parents who do not attend religious groups. So, I mean, your intuition's correct.
Yeah, it really is. Texas, thank you for the 666. Hail Nero says, women with kids defending biblical misogyny bums me the fuck out. In Doug's eyes, all are equal. Yes, in Doug's googly eyes, all are equal. He would never degrade women. That's why Sharon Stone is the co-redemptrix. Remember, sinfully wet for Sharon. Dr. Joe, great to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for the $9.99 super chat. Says, by looking deeper into it, caller means coping and pretzel apologetics. Looking deeper into it. Caller means coping and pretzel. Yes, that is what it means to look into it. Rather than be honest, we're going to look at it and try to make it say something it doesn't say. And our friend Low Bar Bill is with us. Thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. Says Genesis 20 verses 17 through 18. God closed fast the wombs. Why doesn't he prevent grape victims today from getting pregnant? Doug is way more consistent. So this goes to a talking point that we don't. I could talk forever about. This is the Abimelech story, when it seems plausible that Abimelech may or may not have touched Sarah, and vice versa. And so, as a punishment for what Abimelech did, even though God says, "I prevented you from touching her," he closes the wombs of all the women in his household. What a weird thing to do, considering that they didn't actually commit the crime. Abimelech did. And Abimelech was actually prevented from doing the crime. Another thing. It's almost like God is perfectly okay with punishing women for the crimes of men, probably because it happens over and over again. It's crazy. Optimus, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Says, cope out your veins brings hope to your brain. Yeah, get the cope out of your veins. You'll have hope in your brain. I agree with you there, actually. And Fern, thank you for the super chat. Says, okay, but did you consider nuh-uh? You know what? Now that you bring that up, Fern,
You always have to.
I should have kept that in the equation. And Big
You gotta
Cheese,
consider nah.
thank you so much for the super chat, Fred. Says, if the New Testament ended with original Mark ending, I doubt Christians would still exist. Paul's testimony arguably more important than the spread of the gospel because he never mentioned the women. Very ironic. Yeah, actually, if we didn't have the other gospels, if we only had like the original Mark, I don't think we'd ever get even close to the Trinity. We certainly wouldn't get to a divine agent born from God and virgin birth. Christianity would look nothing like it is today. We agree with you there. And Marduk, good to see you this morning, my friend. Says Haley turned words into wine. Jesus, prophet.
Is that that's the first time I heard that one? I don't know. Like, have you heard that joke before?
No,
it's really
but
funny.
That's good.
That's really funny.
That's a good one. I'm stealing that one.
Absolutely.
That is really good. Big W, Mark Duke. We appreciate that. I got two more super chats. Here's one from our friend Side. Thank you so much for the $20 super chat. That's huge, friend. Says, love the panel today. Listen, we love the panel today. And we love you. Thank you for being here, friend. And last one from IK says, there are actually ways to explain those errors, like putting the name of more famous prophet on top of the quote. No, you're referring to the quotation from Isaiah in Mark when it doesn't actually come from Isaiah. There's not a single instance in all of Jewish history where you refer to a prophet by the name of another prophet. That is a lie. That's a cope. You'll never be able to substantiate that. That is the most disingenuous argument for fixing that problem that could have ever existed. And you look silly every time you say something of that nature. And sorry, we got one more from our friend Jerry. Jerry, thank you for the $10 super chat. Says, you guys are the GOAT. Loving Danny, but Ian is a beast too. We agree. Both of them are beasts. All right, I promised we would get Caleb and then Juan.
Before we do that, by the way, I saw a comment which made me think of something very funny. Danny, you should change your online name to Timothy Shalametheist. Like, it would be so perfect.
Timu Chalamet, maybe.
That would work too. Anyway, we have a guest to bring up, I suppose.
All right, we're gonna bring in Caleb.
Caleb.
Can you guys hear me? I'm using my earphone. Good. How are you?
We can hear you.
We can hear you, but your connection says that you only have one bar, so it might not be particularly good.
Okay. You kind of caught me outside right now, so okay. Hopefully, it doesn't cut out too bad.
Yeah. So
sorry,
do you believe in God?
Yes, I'm actually LDS.
You're LDS. Okay. What would you say is like the most compelling argument you could give for the existence of the God that you believe in?
Okay, so there's actually a few different parts to this, so you gotta bear with me for a second. And I just want to say real quick first, this is my first time doing a debate on TikTok, so if I'm a little nervous, I apologize.
It's okay. But yeah, go for it. You're good.
Okay, so the first part is you agree that this is actually based on science. So you agree that energy cannot be destroyed or created, it has to be transformed, right?
Let's grant that for the time being, but there are some caveats that we should talk about later.
Okay, but as a basic rule, it exists, right?
Sure.
Okay. So, let's see, hold on a second. I lost my spot. So, does it make sense to you, even if we didn't exist before this life, that we're an organized intelligence and we're very intelligent, but then we just dissipate after we die?
Sure. I mean, intelligence isn't energy, right? These are like it's a non sequitur. I don't see a reason.
And just so you know, there are atheists that disagree. There's atheistic religions, like certain sects of Buddhism, that think that there's reincarnation.
That's true too.
Like that. So, you could be, some atheists believe in weird things like ghosts and souls and reincarnation. Just letting you know, but we don't.
Okay. But I mean, I just ask you to have an open mind and just listen to what I'm saying. So, so going back to that, but does it make sense though that we would just disappear after we die if energy can't be destroyed? Okay.
Well,
so
but
that means
because our intelligence isn't energy, right? Like these are unrelated concepts.
Well, we run on energy, and energy is used.
Look, our body uses energy, and
I mean, how do you know that though? You don't know.
So our body uses energy. That energy absolutely does dissipate into the ground when we're buried, or dissipate into the smoke when we are cremated. Like there is stored energy in our muscles, in our cells, in our mitochondria, and all. Like there's stored energy there, and it dissipates the environment after you die.
So wait, is he claiming that you're claiming that intelligence is energy?
Maybe.
I'm claiming that intelligence could be energy.
I don't see how those two things are related at all.
Well, we know that there's different dimensions, right? How do we know that there's not a spiritual dimension?
Do you think God could be energy?
I think he's both. I think he's energy and matter.
Danny, you're gonna make me cry.
Why?
Okay. To say God is energy, you're gonna have to. I don't even know what you mean by energy anymore. Or God.
I think that God. Okay. I don't know if I should get too deep into that because there's things that I know that I probably shouldn't tell everybody. But I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying. But let me go back to something else. Oh yeah. So my biggest problem with science right now is going back to the whole infinite universe thing. I think that science is a finite way of approaching an infinite universe.
Okay.
So thank you. We do know that there's a lot that we don't know about science, and so I believe there's a quantum world around us made of energy because we can't see it. We don't have a lens.
When the towers fell.
What does that mean?
This is Blitz's 9/11 happening now.
It's a portmanteau of it's my 9/11 and then also Shaka when the walls fell. That you found that way funnier than it is, by the way.
I'm sorry. I have epiphania. I laugh too much. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. Sorry.
I'll keep it short. No, it's okay. It's okay.
Laughing's contagious. Don't mind.
You didn't know. I have a crazy laugh. Everybody tells me. I know.
Anyway,
yeah, going back.
So it's a reference to Star Trek and also a reference to 9/11. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm not sure how I feel about that right now, but okay. That means we don't really know what's out there. So I'm saying that, so to explain my concept of God is if there's a God out there, and there's different entities.
It's too much noise.
Are you outside right now?
Yeah, Caleb, not to interrupt, but there's some wind hitting your microphone and it's making it impossible to hear you.
Okay, hold on a second. Wait for the wind to subside a little bit. Yeah, like I said earlier, you guys caught me outside, just bad timing.
Wait, so you're a Latter-day Saint?
Yes.
This is in line with your church to say God could be energy?
Not necessarily. Um, I my understanding of reality is that there's a lot more that we have to learn that we haven't learned yet. It's kind of like, okay, so going back to what Haley was talking about, what you guys were talking about with Haley, because I was listening. I think that, okay, first, um, well, I believe, and the LDS Church generally believes, that the Bible was corrupted by people who were corrupted by the devil, even though you probably don't believe in the devil. But let's say that there's an enemy of God and that he tried to corrupt the Bible. That's why it says in the Bible that if you take away or you add to my Bible, you will be condemned, because he knew that would happen.
Wait, where does it say that?
I think at the end, it's been a while since I've read it. I'm just getting back into church again, so I don't remember exactly, but
So
you can
I
look
think
at, I'm typing into Google search.
you're trying to quote Revelation 22, and
Oh,
Revelation
that's what it is.
22 is a warning
What
specifically about the scroll of Revelation. It says not to tamper with the scroll of this scroll, meaning the one he's writing.
Hold on a second. Does it say scroll or does it say Bible?
Scroll. The word Bible doesn't show in the Bible anywhere.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think it could mean the whole Bible, but
Why?
anyway,
It says the scroll of this
Okay.
prophecy
all
in
right, I'll give you that one.
22:19, right? It's just for John's revelation.
Okay, that's fine. Let's just move on then.
Mhm.
I can agree with that. That's fine. But
Can
I
I ask
lost
you a
my
question
point for a
about your
second.
book?
Sure, go ahead. The Book of Mormon.
Yeah, in what was it, Second Nephi 5, if I remember correctly, it talks
Okay.
about how God cursed human beings so that they would be reprehensible to his people. They would no longer be white and delightsome. What do you make of that?
Well, I don't necessarily like that idea, but in my opinion and my belief, God sometimes does some not necessarily good things in order to accomplish his goals, which I think are good. I know that's not a popular belief, and a lot of Christians would probably be offended by that.
Well, I get that. I guess the problem that creates for us is it means that God is inherently racist, right? Because it says, wherefore, as they were white and exceedingly delightsome, that they might not be enticing to my people. So basically, God is admitting that it's more delightsome, it's more attractive to be white than to not be white. Don't you think that's kind of an odd thing for a God to think?
I know it says in the Bible to be perfect, even as my Father in heaven is perfect. But
So if
to
God
be
is
honest, I'm not
perfect,
necessarily. I believe in God, but that doesn't mean that he's perfect.
does the Book of Mormon say that God is perfect?
Maybe I don't remember.
He already sort of insinuated that he's trying to go against his church. Maybe
Okay.
let's start this way. I want you to
Okay.
complete the blank. God exists because, and then fill in the blank.
All right. I'll share it. I don't care. Okay. So I had a vision. I know you might not believe that, but I had a vision. My friend CJ's probably cringing right now. That's okay. So God basically told me where he came from. He told me that there was another planet a long time ago, like 1 million years ago or so. I don't know the exact timeline, where humans first existed, or they existed at some time. And because there was no God to reset the world, they were able to advance really, really far. And there was a legendary scientist, I don't know his name, kind of similar to Einstein in, 1905, but like imagine like 100 years in the future if Einstein came back. So he was able to figure out where dark matter came from, or figured out dark matter.
But
And
before you
then,
finish, or
I'm
whatever you're
sorry.
about to, before you finish,
What?
or is there?
what?
Do you think that Do you think that we should believe your testimony?
You don't have to. Just take it with a grain of salt. I mean, just
Okay, what
be
I'm
open
interested
to
in,
listening. That's
what
all.
I'm interested in, and Blitz might have something to say about your whatever you just said, but what I'm interested is something that would commit us to believing that God exists. I'm personally not very interested in whatever visions or dreams or any of that stuff. I'm not interested in that stuff, right? Because I'm not committed to believing any of it, right? Now, Blitz, did you want to say something?
I would have rather not. But something about dark matter.
Well,
What?
listen to the story. It's not very long, and I'm trying to explain
Do
the
we have
concept
to?
behind God. I mean, you're kind of stuck with me, to be honest.
Well, I mean, we're not really.
I
You
mean,
can kick me. But just listen. You're not even a tiny bit curious to find out
but-
where God might come from.
listen,
You've probably
I'm
never even
curi-
heard of something like that before.
no, I like Caleb. I want to hear the story.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'll be listening.
It's
I'm gonna get
almost
myself a
over.
cup of coffee because apparently I need
Okay.
it.
That's fine. So where was I? Oh yeah, he figured out dark matter. He used it to make light matter, or like photon juice, basically, like
Photon
a liquid
juice?
light. Yeah, liquid light. That's what I call it.
Liquid.
And then,
oh boy.
but then the story that he told me was that the scientists didn't get it. Apparently, the government got involved, and it got misplaced, and then somebody else got it instead, and that's who ended up becoming God for a reason. But he basically injected the photon juice or the liquid light into himself, and then it transformed him, and he became exalted and became God.
Well,
was the
that is
first step.
something.
Yeah.
I'll give you credit, Caleb. You're the first person I've ever heard refer
Thank
to
you.
photon juice.
That's awesome. Thanks.
Like, I mean,
I know it's a lot to process and like take in. It's
to
a new
give you
concept.
every amount of credit in the world, you could consider photons juice because they come from squeezed electrons.
Right.
So they're like electron juice.
Kinda makes sense.
Photons are electron
Yeah.
juice. But I think Blitz has got some things to say about photon juice.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I really don't. I'm just reconsidering my life choices.
You might quit altogether. Oh no, I didn't break you, did I? I didn't know I was that powerful.
All right.
Um,
Cool story. I don't know what to do with it.
It was a good one. Listen, Caleb, I think
All right.
we've
Okay,
got a
okay.
huge backlog of callers that want to get in, and
That's
you've
fine.
been so,
I got to
so
get my message
delightful
across.
to talk to.
Thank you. You guys too. I really enjoyed that. That was fun.
All right, cheers.
All right,
Have a good
y'all.
one,
I'm
friend.
gonna
You too,
open
I'll
up a
talk to you later.
juicing store. I think I need to reconsider my life choices.
Blitz's
It's funny
juice
how
bar.
people are like It's funny how people are like split about like some people are like I want to hear it, and other people are like no. Like I think we're all split.
I
When
mean,
it's-
yeah, like to be honest, like I can understand that. Like it depends on the person. Yeah. Anyway, I think we have a few super chats, and then we should bring on the next guest.
We do, yeah, and I promised Juan would be in next. It's going to be Juan and then Matt. Punchin the Dumpling, thank you for the $5 super chat, says, the silence when Haley accused you guys of being disrespectful was comical. You guys are chill AF. Good thing she didn't crash into the line with Matt. Oof. I was a little hard on her because she started the conversation with insinuating that I lack understanding, and that's never a good way to start a conversation. But typically, we're pretty chill. Like, as long as the guest doesn't come in swinging, we're not going to swing back. But you're right. If she tried doing that with Matt Dillahunty, he would have ate her alive and then muted her and then gave her a speech and then sent her back to her parents to get spanked. Space Lord, thank you so much for the $5 super chat, my friend. Says women were not trusted for testimony in court, but we don't have the testimony of women at the tomb, and the Gospels are not a court transcript. That is true. And the other thing too is the only thing that makes sense in the story would be have the women to find Jesus, because women were the ones that perfumed the dead bodies. It would be silly to plug a man into that role. Like, why are men going to perfume the body of Jesus? That's not what men do, right? So, like, it's just not a good argument because it cuts both ways. And Fern, thank you for the additional $2 super chat, friend, says, okay, but have you considered photon juice? Listen, for the artistic friends, apparently now we need to make some emojis for this channel. We don't have any emojis yet for this channel, but we've been talking about doing emojis and memberships. If somebody can make a good photon juice emoji, I think that's going to be our first. That's got to be our first one.
Like what would be good would be like somebody like ringing a light bulb and then like photons dripping out or something. But it has to be
Yes.
small because it has to be an emoji, right?
Gotta happen. Gotta
Well, that's
happen.
pretty good. It's pretty good merc. We could, maybe design our own.
That's
soda.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
All right,
design a
I'm
soda,
making
photon
notes.
juice. Keeps you light.
Light and bright. Huh?
I love this.
Yeah,
All right,
also
let's get
photon
Juan.
juice makes you bright. Yeah, that works too.
It's a good one. It's a good one. All right.
You know,
give me
I have a
one
cousin
second.
who's in the drink industry. Maybe I could pitch the idea. Anyway, all right, we have another guest. Let's bring him on.
All right, we have got now Juan with us. How you doing, Juan?
Hi. What's up?
Oh, hold one
Howdy.
second. Let me turn your echo cancellation either on or off. Although it's already on, but it sounds like you've got multiple microphones and speakers over there. When you talk, we're getting double.
Really? Okay, I don't know why. I'm gonna close the other tabs. Maybe that's. Is it better now?
Are you using a loudspeaker? Are you listening to this with a loudspeaker?
No, I'm not listening. Yeah, I think yes. Should I plug in my headphones? Maybe that will help.
Yeah. Yeah, put your headphones on, buddy. See if that helps. That's really loud. Holy shit. Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Okay. This is it. Now I just plug it in the headphones. Oh, it's better now?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be as echoey as it was before. And it sounds like you're in a cave, but we can work with that. No one's worried about that. Sometimes some rooms just have that cave sound. And that's no problem. So Juan, welcome in. Are you at least 18 and do you believe in God?
Well, yeah, I'm 35, but okay, I have to be honest about that. One, I'm actually an agnostic, so technically, so I don't know if this is wrong. So maybe I wanted to do a divorce advocate kind of way. I push back a little bit. No, it's not
No, you may
okay.
not. It is
Yeah,
not permissible. I appreciate you asking and getting permission, but it is not permissible. No.
Because of that. Okay, sorry about that. Then I will just give the call to the next.
Oh,
Is
hey,
he still
Justin.
Is he
can
still
you bring,
doubling for everybody? Because he's doubling for me.
Not for me, but he wants to do devil's advocate anyway. So.
Oh, no, sorry, Juan. We don't do devil's advocate. Sorry, man.
Okay.
Justin, can you bring Danny up on TikTok?
Oh,
Because
shit.
Danny's finally in the guest box.
I just got my phone, so.
Yeah, we got him up. Dope.
You got to mute yourself though on TikTok.
There we go.
Otherwise, that happens.
I almost destroyed the show.
It's okay. All right, well, let's grab Matt from the queue. I said Matt would be next. We'll grab our 2 super chats and we'll get Matt. Tim, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Says, "Dear God, please let me be the resident ex-Mormon guest like Ems is for Islam. LOL. I was one for 30 years. Temple mission, everything. I'm on Discord." Well, Tim, send me a message on Discord. We might have that conversation at some time. We don't know anything about you. We typically only bring up people we know. But Tim, let's have a conversation.
Tim is a long-time supporter. Tim is
That's
a
what I
long-time
thought.
supporter.
Well, my channel too.
But yeah. I mean, there is a question. So there is a question of somebody might be an expert, but there is something to be said of being able to communicate their ideas effectively and do the rhetoric appropriately, and that can be a shit show if not done well. So there's a conversation to be had.
But there is certainly a conversation to be had around that. But Tim, we certainly appreciate lending your expertise to us because it might come in very handy for us. And Critical, thank you so much for the $20 super chat. That's huge, friend. It says, "Photon juice is what you get when you juice electric lettuce."
That's good. That's good.
That is the answer. That is the answer, actually. We appreciate that. And Sayla, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, "Photon juice is what I imagine some scientists call their semen." Maybe.
They're love rockets.
Love rockets. Unbelievable.
Look, it's
I mean,
a euphemism. Okay.
If you put some jumper cables on your nips and then play like "Start Me Up," then maybe you can call it photon juice. There's some electrons flowing. Apostate, thank you for the $5 super chat. It
Okay,
says,
I think they're right. I think we need Jesus. All right.
we're off the rails, guys. We're
Right.
off the rails.
It's true.
Apostate says, as an ex-Mormon, I can say authoritatively that Photon Juice Injected is a great band name. Listen, apparently we're going to get t-shirts and mugs made up, friends. Photon Juice is going to be on the rails soon. Jamnik, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, does anyone know where to get real photon juice? All I can find is this photon juice. Tastes like battery acid. You see what he did there? That was a good pun. Faux, like fake.
Is my connection breaking up?
No, you're good.
Yeah, my connection is, but it looks fine on YouTube. I'm looking at it, so it's weird.
It's
so I
TikTok.
sound okay? Because Justin sounded like a robot for a second there.
You sound good.
Yeah, he did, but I don't know what happened.
Okay, so it was on Justin's end then. Okay.
Possibly. Everything sounds good on my end, but Jamnik, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate that. I did see TikTok.
Yeah, Justin, you're breaking up a bit. Your connection is a little bit bad.
Yeah, but what's weird is that he's fine on TikTok and on YouTube.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine everywhere else. It's just for us and for the people who are in the... Anyway, go ahead,
For
continue.
Video Ninja. Interesting. That's news. Well, we'll see what happens.
I think you're fine now.
Okay. It might have just been a temporary Wi-Fi glitch. It had too much photon juice in the lines.
Yeah, you don't want photon juice in your fiber optic.
Oh boy.
This is never going to die. This is so funny.
Photon juice is the new Garbagamon.
Well, I mean, we're not letting go of Garbagamon. That's going to live forever, but...
It's just, it is what it is. Oh,
anyway.
I need to redo the guest box, but welcome in, Matt.
Hi. You guys hear me all right?
Yeah, we can.
A little bit quiet, but we can hear you.
All right, cool. Well, first off, I'd like to thank you gentlemen for this show.
Matt, can you get closer to your mic? It sounds like you're in a different county from your phone.
Can you hear me now?
It's better.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my apologies. I've got my headphones in.
Much better.
These new nifty thingamajigs. But yeah, first off, I would like to thank you gentlemen for this show. I've learned more in the 15 minutes that I've been hearing than I have at any time reading the Bible. Also, I would like to point out that I have not actually read the Bible in my entire life. I've heard scriptures throughout the churches, but as it stands, I have never actually sought out any information for myself. It is mainly because of my belief that if God wants something to be said to me, he will make sure that I hear it. And so therefore you may call me a layman. So I apologize for the time, but I do want to ask, do you guys mean God isn't real as in our understanding of the Christian God? And do you mean real as in real of our understanding, or just real as in reality?
So we mean, generally speaking, any kind of creator deity, whether that's the Christian God or whether that's the God of, I don't know, Greek paganism, or the God of, like some, like Quetzalcoatl, or I actually don't know what the creator deity is in Incan traditional folklore. But we mean any creator deity, and we mean real in the sense as does it exist? Does it like actually have some existence in the world?
So you meaning that he has his finger in the pie sort of deal?
You cut out a minute. No, so it doesn't have to be a physical existence. It could just be some sort of metaphysical existence. The question is does it exist in the sense that like you or I or the universe or the laws of physics exist, or does it exist like Voldemort exists?
So you were saying, so the laws laid down in nature.
Is he breaking up for anybody else but me?
He's breaking up for me.
It's funny because he's clear for me. Maybe, yeah, I wonder if...
Oh, but you're breaking up.
Oh, okay. VDO might just
Yeah, this is a
be-
Video Ninja issue.
Yeah, the Video Ninja server might be slow right now.
Well, my apologies.
It's not you. Don't worry, Matt.
Yeah, no, it's definitely on Justin's end.
Justin,
annoying.
you're a true trooper. Look at you. Not even the internet can keep up with you.
I appreciate that.
Okay, I think that we're good. It's fine again. So anyway, you were saying?
I was trying to get a clarification on what we are describing as the touch of God's influence on the world that we live in.
Well, like
Would
we
that
don't
look
believe
like
that.
something along?
I mean, we don't believe
Would-
that
would
a
that-
God exists or that he influences anything or that she influences anything. What we're kind of talking to the guests about is whether or not there's good reason to believe that there is a God, right? So whatever your God is there a reason why one would feel compelled to believe in it?
Well, one of the leading arguments I hear these days is that disproving something is far harder than proving something because you cannot find the evidence if it is not right in front of you. Now,
Well,
as I have
If you don't mind, let me add
looked,
to that. I think disproving things that don't exist is impossible. Like you can't prove a negative. I mean, there are ways of looking at the evidence, but like if I said to you, Matt, can you give me verifiable proof that there's not a fire-breathing dragon that lives in my basement, but he's also invisible? Like, could you give me that proof?
oh, it's the old argument: does a tree make a noise when it falls in the woods and there's no one there to witness it? But the thing that we can say is that yes, a tree does make noise because I have seen it happen.
Right.
So, in that regard, now, am I thinking along the lines of is God irrefutably there and looking out for us? Maybe in the context of a guardian angel, or perhaps he has sent a one of his there's many different. I apologize, my names are absolutely impossible for me to hold on to, but there is a group of angels, I believe, that are up in the higher choirs that were made to watch over man while he progressed to do God's will. And as for proof, I personally do not know myself, but I did catch wind of an understanding that we recently found out there was an asteroid hanging around our moon. That to me was something of a wake-up call to kind of
Well,
really
Matt, I guess
evaluate.
what we're looking for is for someone who believes in God to give us an argument for why their God is real. So if I said, my God is real
their
because
God.
of blank, why would you, where's the blank? What do we fill in there?
Well, that is, I believe, one of the reasons why the Bible was left so vague and the Book of Enoch was removed, because it was too poignant for the individual to grasp what was meant to be grasped in a simple understanding. Albert Einstein once said that the what did he say? Oh, crap. Well, he basically said along the lines, you cannot judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, otherwise it will believe its entire life that it is stupid. He also pointed out that you cannot have a my word. There is much that he said.
Let's do it. Let's do
I'm
it
trying
this
to
way.
filter through.
Let's do it this way. You should believe in God because, and then blank. Finish the sentence.
If you should believe in God because you do not understand what you do not understand.
Yeah, but we might agree that, I mean, that's like saying you don't know what you don't know. It's not really saying very much. Okay.
Yes, but saying what you do not know is like much like comparing Nutella to chocolate peanut butter. There is just so much of a difference between the two.
Maybe it might be. Do you
depend
think
on
you
your
can? Do you
preference.
think you can know? Do you think you can know that God exists?
I think if you ask
Here,
every
maybe
day,
say yes or no. Give yes or no, and then you can explain. So, do you think you can know that
Yes.
God exists?
Yes, I think you can.
Okay, go ahead and yeah.
Much
Go ahead.
well, one of the easy point to objects is, where did the idea of fantasy come from? Like, really think about it.
But how does one know that God exists?
Somebody decide.
But how does one know that God exists?
How does one know that a good friend exists?
Oh boy. All right, well, listen, Matt. I don't know. You sound really nice, and we love nice people. But maybe what you should do is go back and jot down some notes of evidences or reasons to believe in God, and then come back and try again, because it sounds like you haven't thought about how you would answer this question yet, and you're not really sure what your response would be to it. And so you probably do. There probably is a good reason that you're not able to articulate right now. But we're looking for the reason, and if you don't have one, then
this is one of the reasons I wanted to clarify what your idea of real was, because if you are not giving me a solid grounding of understanding, because I know it's like a lot of people what they mean by God isn't real is
we mean not
that
fictional.
Your God isn't real because you are not.
We mean not fictional.
Not fictional.
Yes.
Well, not non-fictional. So you are
not fictional. Not non-fictional.
Not fictional, meaning that you see the lights turning on, but you've never seen electricity in motion or action or
Justin.
Really, I mean.
That's
Oh wait, no, never mind. I have this power.
Abort.
Yeah.
Abort.
I have that power.
Mayday.
By the way, a huge pet peeve of mine. For some reason, because Einstein's name is literally synonymous with genius now, like if you look up Einstein in the dictionary, you'll find the word, or in a thesaurus, you'll find genius. Every quote is attributed to him. Einstein never said anything about the fish, judging a fish by its ability to, there's no evidence that Einstein ever said that. Einstein also never said that, energy cannot be created nor destroyed. He never said that. Basically, if you think Einstein said something, he probably didn't.
Yeah.
Unless it was some stuff with equations, in which case maybe he did.
The amount of fictional quotes that get attributed to smart people is wild. Let me grab our super chats. We'll get our next guest in here. I think it's going to be Rumbly and then Jav. It looks like J-A-V to me. Yav. Gretchen, thank you for the super chat, my friend. It says, I thought photon juice came from chemlights. Maybe. Thank you, Gretchen. Herbie.
Speaking of bad quotes, what's the worst quote you heard of someone giving that said that Jesus said, right? Like they said that Jesus said. Do you?
I don't know.
Bad ones.
You know what? That's a tough one.
I can't think of any. Yeah.
One of the worst.
The quote that I hear the most often that's just not true is that Jesus said he came to get rid of the law. He came to abolish the law, which is just factually untrue.
Didn't he come not to abolish the law?
He literally famously came not to abolish the law. Or some people will say, well, Jesus says that no one can actually follow the law. He didn't say that. Herbie, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Says, I was having a walk through the cemetery today. I saw a man crouching by a grave. I said morning, and he said, no having a shit.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. He's not mourning, like crying. See what I said? He's having a shit. Yeah. That was a good joke. I like that, Herbie. And Mike, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. It says photon juice for my men and holy water for my horses. Indeed. And Judas, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. It says you miss 100% of the shots God takes. Albert, Harry Potter, Tesla. Hold on, I got
so good. Why is chat so good?
I gotta write that down. Hold on.
Chat is so funny.
Dude, chat's off the hook today. This is amazing. 1 second.
Wait, there's something that's, where is it? If I can find it, it's so good. Okay, I'm gonna post this, and I'll do my best to read it because I'm just I'm just posting it in the Discord, but it's just like a motivational poster, and it says, "Do or do not. There is no try." And then it attributes the quote to Dumbledore, and then it has a picture of Gandalf next to it.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
And it rage baits the best kind of people.
Unreal, man. Dude, chat's off the chain today. We love it. We love it. And Robin, thank you for the $5 super. Oh, I see the picture. Robin, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says the difference between genius and stupidity is that genius has its limits. Einstein. Also Einstein.
At this point, it's rage bait. It's got to be rage bait, right?
It is. It's just rage bait. Thank you for that anyways. Let me grab our next guest. I thought it was the guest that was going to bring in. They literally just dropped out. Which means it's going to be on to the next in line after that, which was, however I do or don't pronounce JAV. Welcome in, JAV. Oh, J. There you go. The bottom of the Y got cut off. It's J Money. How you doing, J Money?
Hey, what's up? How y'all doing, fellas?
Good. How you doing?
Howdy.
Everything good. Everything good. Just calling in, trying to see what's up with the topic. I know you're saying that there's no God, but all right, like I get it as far as scripture goes. I agree with you. I think that scripture is a man-made tool. People, they use it to control for power and stuff like that since back in the days.
So, are you a Christian?
People might say that because I do believe in a creator, if you will, but like not through the biblical scriptures, if you will. Like it's weird.
Do you say that?
I say that because I do believe in a ultimate creator, and I do feel like the Bible and the Quran and all these scriptures are just control tools, literally things that they use to control the masses. It's something that was formed after kingship. Sorry?
Sure. Just to clarify, you believe in a God, but not the God of any of the organized religions.
Facts. Yeah. I think that there's something out there for sure. There's has to be something. Doesn't have to necessarily be a conscious mind like you and me. See, that's one of the things about scripture that bothers me most, because they try to quantify something that you cannot quantify. It's just not how things work. You can't expect the app Microsoft to know the ins and outs of Bill Gates and everybody that went into writing every code that went into it. It just is, it just does what it was meant to do, made to do, coded to do. And if you look at everything that's in existence, it has code in it. It has formation. It has information in it. Like DNA, for example.
God is real because DNA?
No, because at a certain point in time, I'm not gonna say, all right, what you want is he real or is he not? Yep. A finite, definitive answer. What I'm trying to tell you is that at a certain point in time, humanity hits a wall. You understand?
Well, Phil, we'll do this. Danny brought up this format, and I like it. So we're going to keep using it for people that are struggling with answering questions. I'm going to start a sentence. I need you to finish it. My God is real because blank.
We're here.
Oh,
you and I are here right now.
So look at the trees. What about us being here has to do with your God?
It's not my God. I'm saying that.
Oh boy.
Things don't just pop up out of nowhere, right? I mean,
we don't believe that.
Where did God come from?
Yeah.
He might be a force. He might not be a he or a she or a deity. What if God is
the God that you believe in, does it have a mind? Does it have a will?
This is what I'm saying. That's me trying to give you attributes about something that I can't possibly fathom.
So you don't know if the thing that you believe in has a will?
What I'm saying is my reasoning to deduce that something is there is the fact that we are here and we are in an interstellar system.
So you've deduced allegedly you've deduced that something is there. Why do you call that something a God rather than the laws of physics or the initial conditions of the universe?
I don't call it. Yeah, that's
So
what I'm
you
saying.
wouldn't. So you wouldn't say that you believe in God.
Okay. Welcome
Or
to
that you
I
believe in
atheism,
God.
believe
Jay.
that something caused everything. You understand what I'm saying?
Sure, we do, but we
Something
don't
called,
think
you want
that
to call
something
that God,
is.
then that's on you. You want to be a theist and say, look, the way to God is through me and my word. You know, I'm a prophet, and then you write a book, and then people want to believe you. That's on them, you know.
Okay. Well,
But
Jay, it sounds like you don't actually have an argument for your God. You just believe from some like God of the gaps argument, but you don't really know if the God is actually a God. But we're looking for people who do definitively believe in definable deities. And it's okay if you
well,
don't. It just means that you're not right for this conversation. And that's okay. You're a lovely individual, and we thank you for being here.
appreciate you. Now, before I go, would you not think that
Okay. Thanks for being here, Jay. We do need people who have firm opinions, though. We don't want people who want to waffle on the definition of God. Sayla, thank you for the super chat. Says, I have the biggest photon juice. Albert Einstein, probably.
You know, that one he did say.
Yeah, absolutely. That's in the books. Chess Butt. Fantastic name. Thank you for the super chat, my friend. Says, try or try not. There is only do. Einstein, probably. Oh, God, no. We've opened the door. We've opened the door,
We've
friends.
definitely opened the door for the bit.
Oh, Snip. Snip, thank you for the super chat. Says, have you guys tried photon juice? Abe Lincoln. I mean, obviously, honest Abe would say something of that nature. That's his thing.
You know, another great quote of Abe Lincoln is that you should never trust a quote that you read on the internet.
Yeah, exactly. I believe that one. Jamnik, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, how to annoy 4 fandoms at once. Post a picture of Patrick Stewart saying, use the force, Harry, and quote Gandalf.
It's like a Pandora's box.
Be losing
I mean,
their
like, honestly, I would
mind.
fall for the rage bait.
Indeed.
It would get me.
I would.
By the way,
I'd repost
am I
it.
reading correctly? Are we over 1,000? And
Yeah, we
I
cracked
think we are.
1,000.
Yeah, we're at about 1,000 on YouTube. So
Yeah.
congrats, guys. Make sure to like the live. Yeah. By the way, hold on. So if I'm reading this correctly, there are 281 likes on the YouTube live stream, and there's 1,000 people watching. What are you guys doing? What are you doing?
Crucify
just
the
push a
like button. Thank you so much for being here, though.
Damn that subscribe button straight to hell.
That's right. Absolutely. Pitchforks and all. Carnage, great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for the $9.99 super chat. Says, I know everything there is to know about Bill Gates. Microsoft, the app.
What? At this point, I don't even understand it.
That's actually a quote from Microsoft lore. That's Bob. Bob made that quote. And if you don't know about Microsoft, Bob, we've got to talk about the history of
It's
Microsoft.
not. So look, all I know about Microsoft is Clippy.
Oh,
yeah,
before
Clippy.
Clippy was Bob.
This is before Clippy. Okay.
Before Clippy, yes. Yes, we're going to go deep in Microsoft lore. Thank you for that, Carnage. It's great to see you. And Dalton, the Bible guy, great to see you as well. Thank you for the super chat. Says, what we need is to assemble a roundtable of all the best atheist TikTok creators. The Justin League. Well, certainly I wouldn't name it after me.
It is really funny.
I understand the wordplay.
It is funny.
I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I could appreciate that. Thank you, Dalton. It's great to see you as well, Fred. All right, let's get our next guest in here. It's going to be Michaela, and then SOVL after Michaela, and then probably Nope after that. Welcome in, Michaela.
Oh,
Hi, Michaela.
I am listening. I realize that I might not be right for this conversation, but I did want to see how long it would take me to get up here. I was interested.
Well, we'll start with the basic questions. Are you at least 18, and do you believe in God?
I'm 27, and I do believe in God, but I look at it as a title, and even though I have no one to give that title to, I do hope that I find someone worthy of it someday.
So
Okay.
you believe in God, but you don't know who it is.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay.
I just haven't, experienced it.
So are you saying it's something like you believe in the idea, you believe in or you believe in and hope for a just king to take the throne, but no such just king has taken the throne yet?
Yeah, there's just in human nature, I don't see that being possible, but I do love the title. and I just hope that there is someone who will take it responsibly. But in my experience, it can be taken away just as quickly as it can be given.
Yeah, the headmaster at Hogwarts is also a title, right? Do you look at God and the headmaster at Hogwarts similarly, or no?
No, I don't. I'm not super familiar with, like, I've only seen the movies, and I can't reference all of the things that he did. But I do see, what did you say? The what of Hogwarts?
Headmaster.
The headmaster of Hogwarts is a title, yes. God is also a title, so there's that similarity. But someone gave the master of Hogwarts that title, and people often give God the title to a lot of people that didn't live up to the expectation, in my opinion. So, in my opinion, I kind of took that title away. So there's
I guess I'm
that.
just wondering, like, so one, we'd agree that the headmaster of Hogwarts, that no one has that title, but I'm wondering why you don't think the same thing about God. How are you ruling out that no one has that title?
I just haven't given it to anyone. Like,
Could you give it?
personally.
What? Could you give it to Justin or something? Like, is that like?
Justin is the guy above you.
Yeah, or next to me, yeah, or above me, yeah.
I think that if Justin taught me something profound, I could be like, that's godlike. But at some point, I think that would end if, like, not if there was a disagreement, but if he did something that I didn't agree or align with, I would then, not give him that title anymore. But I don't mind giving the title to people who, I feel respect me and want to teach me things that are significant. But I think that respectfully, I would give them more the title of, like, something else, especially if they don't align with my beliefs. I would then title them something that they align with, such as teacher.
I'm just trying to figure out, even if we even disagree, because I'm fine to say that God is a title, although it looks more like a name, right? Usually with titles, like when you say, I talk to the president, right? With titles, you put the article, right? I talked to the king. I talked to the senator. Titles have articles, but names don't have articles. I talked to Justin. We don't say I talked to the Justin last night, right? We don't. In the same way, we don't say I talked to the God last night. Christians, Muslims, and Jews don't say that. They say I talked to God last night, or I prayed to God last night. I requested something of God last night. Usually, we treat the term God as a name. I don't really look at it as a title. But even if it were a title, I mean, you don't pick out anything and say, "Hey, that thing is God." We don't either, and it's just hard to see where we disagree.
So you want to know if I disagree with you?
It sounds like you might not actually. You might actually agree with us.
Yeah, I do. I'm very open to, like, being questioned or having my mind changed. I have been on a lot of atheist panels, and I like them. I do enjoy learning about what they have to say. Like, some of them are, like, very knowledgeable on things that I have no concept of, and I enjoy that aspect. But, like, my use of language comes from personal experience, and I'm aware that not everyone will have that kind of experience, so I try to respect their use of language, in the sense, like, I don't like the word God. I'm like, okay, what do you want to call it? You can call it whatever you want, and then I adjust.
Sure.
But look, Michaela, we are interested in talking to people who believe that a God exists, rather than believe that it's a title that nothing is currently holding.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Well, no, you're fine. Go ahead.
I started saying that, like, I might not be right for this, but I was excited to see how long it would take me to get up here. And, you've allowed me to be up here longer than I anticipated, and I appreciate that as well.
Well, you're also being kind and polite, which we love.
Thank you.
Indeed, but we are going to let you go.
Okay.
We are going to let you go, because you're right. You aren't right for this.
But we appreciate you being here either way. You're a lovely individual, and we enjoy good people. I think next was Nope or SOVL. I forget which one I said, but we're going to grab Nope next. Colin, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. It says RFK announces pregnant women to drink proton juice. We got photon juice and proton juice now. I don't know which one I want to choose. Whichever one won't give me autism.
You're allowed to make that joke, by the way.
I know. It is accurate. Thank you, Discordant Rhyme, for the $6.99. I appreciate that. Worst quote attributed to Einstein. Evil is the result of what happens when man does not have God's love present in his heart. Delusional trash. Someone said Einstein said that? That's insane.
People say Einstein says anything, and because Einstein is synonymous with genius, they use it as a way of reinforcing a belief that they have. They're like, well, I can't be wrong. Einstein said it. And that guy, his name means really smart.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And there's no way to verify it. You must believe it. Tess, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Says that's one small step for man and one giant leap for photon juice. Einstein probably. Oh, no. Now we've got space mixing with false Einstein quotes. Thank you for that, Tess. Thank you. Libra the Skeptic, great to see you this morning. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Says, I never said that shit. Confucius, maybe. She got citations. Page 394. Einstein, maybe. That one time at band camp, also Einstein, maybe. And meh, good enough. Mediocrities and Christians, definitely. That is a real quote. Although I would mix mediocrities and Christians into the same classification. Thank you for that, though. Judas, my friend, thank you for the additional super chat. Says, my name is Grandmaster Jesus. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Anakin Skywalker. Oh, no. It's going to be fake quotes all the way down. It's turtles all the way down to fake quotes.
It's the whole way. It's the whole way.
Good question. Great to see you. Thank you for the super chat. It says, is Israel purely Canaanite tribe or a mix of Canaanite and other tribes? Well, the eldest Israel we know of appears to have come from Canaanite origin, but I also think it's a mixture of nomadic tribes typically referred to as Habiru, not Hebrews, the Apiru. The Apiru is a kind of a generic name for nomadic, non-tribal people that assimilated in the culture. One of the oldest references of this you can find in the writings of King Idrimi of Alalach. He started a kingdom based on these nomadic individuals that didn't really have a definitive tribe. He literally rounded all these people up, made his own makeshift tribe, and then started waging war up near Hattusa and some of the other Hittite kingdoms until he made his own kingdom. And we have some of his writings that tell about the story. It's awesome. You can probably get it on archive.org. It was published, the tablets were published in 1954, I believe. So it's probably pretty close to being in the open domain. If not, I've got copies of them on my bookshelf. I can help you out. Libra the Skeptic, thank you for the $5 super chat, says yesterday begins tomorrow or some such bullshit. Some Phil bros somewhere. Words don't mean words. Consider nuh-uh, all Christians everywhere. And that is a factual quote. If I know one thing about Christians, one thing only, and that is words have no meaning. None. Flash, thank you for the super chat. It says, I'm loving this trio. I love Danny, but Danny's energy today is my favorite by far. More of this trio. More of this Danny. Love you all. And listen, we love the people. We give the people what they want. We'll have Danny back as often as we are able to do so.
Danny, you hear that? People want you to be nice.
Well, I don't think there's been anyone that deserves to be verbally.
Exactly. Yeah,
abused.
like I was gonna say, like you haven't, like nobody's been stupid enough that they deserve your rage.
Right. They're no vessels of wrath yet.
Not yet. Nope. Welcome in. Nope. You've got a lot of background noise. Do you have a fan or something going?
Oh yeah.
Or
Hold
a
on.
jet engine?
My bad. Sorry about that.
Yeah, there you
Can you
go.
hear me?
That's a lot better.
Yeah,
we can
that's
hear
so
you.
much better.
Nope. Are you at least 18? And do you believe in some sort of God concept?
Yes, I'm old and I believe in God. I believe in El Elyon, the Most High God of the Bible.
Okay. Do you believe that El Elyon and Yahweh are the same individual?
I do not. Absolutely do not.
Okay. So are you henotheistic or polytheistic?
In a way, I'm polytheistic because I believe in the divine council.
Okay, so you believe in multiple gods, and that's fine. What are you doing with the passages that state that Yahweh is El Elyon, like Psalm 83?
Uh, I I ignore them, honestly. That's how I deal
Okay,
with them.
just checking. Okay. So, with that out of the way, what would be a good argument or a good piece of evidence for the existence of this particular polytheistic worldview?
So that's my main thing here. I watch you guys do this, and I've seen other atheists do too, and I understand the whole point of deconstructing dogmas. I completely agree with it and believe it, but at the same time, it's like I have my own dogmas that I personally, through my beliefs, as you guys would call them, not be able to deconstruct because of personal experience. But I read the Bible,
So,
and I don't read the Word of God. I read the Word of decided upon scriptures throughout time,
so
going back to
nope,
Josiah.
nope. So,
Nope.
and I may differ from the rest of the panel in this regard, but I generally think that if somebody has sufficiently powerful and sufficiently compelling personal experiences, it might be rational for them to believe in a God, right? I mean, like the only thing that you can really trust at the end of the day is what you experience, what you read, what you see, what you hear, and if you see or hear something that you think is like genuinely like real, and that's going to be pretty compelling. The thing is it's not going to be compelling to anyone else, right?
Correct.
It's like when somebody else tells you about their dream, like just nobody cares. Nobody ever cares about your dreams. So in light of that, if you want to come up here and say, well, the reason you believe in God is because of personal experience, that's great, I guess, but like, what are we supposed to do with that?
And I want to add to that, if that's okay. If we were supposed to believe other people's testimonies, right, they would, well, or if we were to take them at face value, they will all defeat each other, right? Because they all
Correct.
say, right. So that's another
Different
issue,
things.
right?
I understand that. I'm not asking anybody to ever take my experiences at firsthand. That's crazy, right? That'd be like me.
Yeah,
I wouldn't trust myself if I heard me. So
right. So then why should, so, I mean, the question is what's the evidence, what's the argument that you could present us that might be compelling to us?
my argument is similar to what other people have already brought up, and you guys have torn apart already. Uh, very wonderfully, by the way. But I just want to say my argument is, what don't we know? Like, how do we understand that this is fake? What's the evidence to prove that it's fake?
So,
Versus what's
I
the
mean,
evidence to prove that it's real?
so the issue is that the first thing that we have to talk about is we have to talk about what it is we're trying to talk about, or what it is we're trying to prove is real or fake. So if there's a particular position that you hold, then we can talk about the evidence for and the evidence against it. Like, for example, if your view is,
Okay.
El Elyon is like a real divine being and that there's a divine council, we can talk about the evidence for that, the evidence against that, and then we can establish what's the most likely explanation for those pieces of data. However, if the claim is just, well, there's a lot of things that we don't know, how do we know that there's not a God? Unless you can define what you mean by there being a God, it's just a non-starter, right? Like we
Well,
need something to latch onto to be able to talk about the evidence for and the evidence against. Otherwise, you're just
I
saying,
mean, that's,
well, what if there's a Blumbus? And I'm like, okay, I don't know what a Blumbus is.
but I didn't. I did state El Elyon, so
Right.
I'm
So
not
then
saying Blumbus.
then this has nothing to do with, well, what do we know? What do we don't know? What do we not know? This is a very specific claim. So we need to talk about what's the evidence for the claim, what's the evidence against the claim. Now, you believe in El Elyon. The question is what properties do you view that this being has? Is it omniscient? Is it all powerful? Did it create the universe from nothing, or did it create the universe from unformed stuff? There's a whole bunch of questions that we need to know, we need to understand before we
Okay.
can even engage with your belief.
So to engage with that belief, I do not accept most of the post-exilic texts or during the exile texts. I don't
So
believe
what
in
properties do you believe that this being has?
just the basic properties of the tabernacle, or not the tabernacle, but the Sabbath. The basic idea is that he somehow was involved with the creation of our process, whether that be through civilization or through the beginning of what would be considered evolution at this point in time.
Would you say that this being is physical, or is it more like something outside of the universe?
Physical.
Okay, so you think that this is a physical entity. Was it born?
Well, yeah, I imagine it was born. So I
Okay,
don't I
so
don't see anywhere in the Bible where it doesn't say he's not physical.
no,
Like the
no,
Bible's
that's
pretty
fine.
clear on saying he has a physical body, right? So
Right. So if you ask the ancient Hebrews, they probably would have told you that he lives on a throne in the sky, right? Um, like
or in a
that's
box,
definitely
depending
consistent.
what time you ask him.
That's definitely consistent with like the ancient view. But then it just sounds like you're describing like a very powerful alien, and none of us are going to say that that's impossible.
Okay.
But like, what would be the difference between what you describe as El Elyon and like just like a super powerful alien that visited us 5,000 years ago and has been like meddling?
Nothing.
Okay, then it sounds like your view is compatible with atheism.
Yeah, welcome to atheism, bud.
Well, I wouldn't call it atheist because I attribute most of it to since I have converted, because I have converted due to personal experiences. I have never been into a church or nothing like that. I wasn't raised. My whole family doesn't believe in none of that stuff. My life has irrevocably changed for the better at each step, based off a certain text. Like if I were to turn over into Psalms, which I don't necessarily follow, but if it's a good text, like anybody should follow, if they see something that's good morally, then follow it, and you become a good moral person, right? I'd never had that direction in my life until I converted. And every time I attribute or give thanks to the Most High, it's almost like I have that experience that I have been
But
revelation, almost like a.
but no, that's somewhat akin to me saying like, oh, I give thanks to,
Columbus.
the rich no, not even
Columbus,
like
yeah.
the rich merchant who I give thanks to the rich merchant who bought my great grandfather's cow for 1,000 rupees, or I don't know, rubles or whatever, and because that made my life like, you're just giving thanks to a dude, like not a divine being. So it just doesn't. It just seems like you're being, which is perhaps reasonable, like giving thanks to something that happened in the past, or being grateful for something that happened in the past is perhaps reasonable, but it just doesn't seem like it's has anything to do with the belief in a god.
But El is the word for God, right? It's his name. So when you say God, that's all I hear. I don't hear a title. I hear the name, like you were
Okay,
saying in the
so
last.
when you say God, you don't mean necessarily a divine being. You mean like a guy who was like really powerful back then.
Well, would be divine to comparatively speaking. You know what I mean?
Divine traditionally means like supernatural and things like this, right?
Correct.
Has a bunch of stuff attached to it.
But
And if we're just
what
talking
is
about like a
supernatural?
guy,
So
if we're just talking about like a
it's
dude with like powers, then it just seems like we're not talking about. I mean, like, look, it just seems like we're talking past each other as far as definitions go. As far as the three of
okay.
us are concerned, you're not talking about a god. You're just talking about like a dude.
That makes sense. I could be talking about a dude. Who knows? I don't. I just still have
Okay.
that feeling and that belief that it's there, that it's the reason, for some reason, whether it started our civilization or not. We could have been apes until he came around, for all I know.
Okay, but that's consistent with atheism. So I don't think that there's a whole lot to talk about here. Justin, Danny, you guys want to
I don't think
add
so. I
anything?
mean, it sounds like you don't really believe in the God the same way we're using the word God. You have a different conception of how the word itself is defined, and I just don't think we're talking about the same thing, you know?
Yeah, that
So,
makes sense.
but we appreciate you coming up. It was good to hear your view. I was intrigued that we found someone who liked the El Elyon pantheistic concept. So big W, buddy. Have a great one.
Thank you. Thank you guys for your time.
Well, it's certainly new and interesting. We don't get that too often. Let me grab our super chats, and I'm going to get Jeremiah from the queue next. Jeremiah's been waiting for, or SOVL's in the queue. I apologize, and
Yeah.
Jeremiah. Edward, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Good to see you, my friend. Says, forgive me, Sharon, for I have been naughty. A stone cracked in half when I walked on it. Please don't let the anti-Doug take me on the day of spanking. In Doug's name, we say crust man. Well, don't worry, Edward. As a prophet of Doug, I can tell you that rocks are designed for multiplication. You can, in fact, one of the children of the quadrinity is in fact pebbles. Pebbles is a collection, not a singular, which means the quadrinity is actually infinite. Every time you break a rock, you're adding to the quadrinity. So no worries. Doug's not concerned at all. And Patch Grabber, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Says, if the gods had a royal rumble to decide who gets a shot at the title, which do you think would win? It's hard to say because El in the Ugaritic pantheon was kind of an old man with a gray beard, kind of a waste. He would get like passed out drunk, and people would make fun of him.
It's got to be Quetzalcoatl, right?
Could be Quetzalcoatl.
Like flying bird dragon, like just seems like it. Just seems like it wins.
Certainly could be. And if we're talking about who's getting spanked, I could only assume that Spanky's doing the spanking, giving the name. But
I mean, look, there is some evidence that Odin is Odin would at least be a strong contender because there are no frost giants left, and Odin got rid of them. So
it's true. That is true. We could definitely go with Odin. We'll have to discuss this later. MD, thank you for the super chat, says, I didn't do it. Nobody saw me do it. You can't prove anything. God. That is 100% a valid quote from God. And good question says, debate title, Israel started 100% polytheistic. What do you think? Well, my friend Chet actually engages in this particular dialogue from time to time. I don't know if I care so much about that debate topic because I feel like at that point, like you don't have enough people that care about the topic to do a full-on debate about it, but we could certainly mix it in as like a mini debate topic during the live streams because it is true. All of our evidence points towards polytheistic, but the reality is the Bible tells you that they were polytheistic. So I don't know what's there to argue. Natalie, thank you for the super chat, says rolling down the streets, I can't say it because it's TikTok. Essen Indo sipping on photon juice, laid back. That's a good song. With my mind on my money and my money on my mind, I can definitely get down with that. Appreciate the new rap lyric. And Dalton coming back again with another spicy Einstein quote, says relativity 1 minute in bed can feel like an hour depending on who you're with. Spicy. He definitely said that.
It's true. He wrote it in his E equals MC squared paper, actually.
It's in there. It's the lesser known formula. Libra, thank you for the $5 super chat, says the greatest danger to society is religious people with power. The greatest danger humanity is religion itself. History is cyclical. Me, just now. And that is a factual quote. I appreciate that. Matt, thank you so much for the super chat, says I am the one and only photon Jew.
I mean, Albert Einstein did ask what it would be like to ride a photon. So, that is a real thought that Einstein had.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
You thought about that?
Yeah, that was his whole shtick.
Oh, boy. All right, last one from our friend Neck2. Great to see you, Neck2. It says, hey, we're the monkeys. People say we monkey around and that evolutionists think we came from monkeys. Love the Danny edition, by the way. Well, thank you. There might be some monkey business about, and we do love having Danny with us. So big shout out, big W to our friend Danny. Let me grab our next in line, SOVL. How you doing, SOVL?
Hello, can you hear me?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a background noise or echo?
No, I think we're okay. What would you prefer to be called, or do you want to be called SOVL?
Actually, the V should be an U. The thing is
that are you Eastern Orthodox by chance?
Sorry?
Are you Eastern Orthodox by chance?
No, I am from Nicaragua. I am told that I sound like a Middle Eastern, but I am not.
Sure.
Oh, Danny, we can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Eastern Orthodox as in the the sect of Christianity, right, Blitz?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's a tradition. It's a Christian tradition. It's not a ethnicity or nationality or.
I know, but when you say Eastern Orthodox, you're speaking, I think, about the Catholic Orthodox Church, right?
Right, but you can be from
And where it's
Nicaragua,
located.
and you can be from Nicaragua and then be be Eastern Orthodox.
I know, but I think that the reason Justin mentioned it was because of my accent, maybe.
No, I
So
mentioned
that.
it because using a V instead of a U is quite common amongst
Oh,
Crusader lerpers, and they
no,
love
no,
Eastern
that's not
Orthodox
it.
stuff.
The reason that I used the V is because the U was not available.
Oh, okay, that's fair. Yeah, so Soul, do you believe in God?
I do.
And which one would that be? Are you Christian, Catholic,
I
Mormon,
am
Islam,
Christian.
or Muslim? Okay, Christian, great. What would you say is the most compelling reason you could offer people like us that would, at least give us reason to think that there's a God?
For me, my friend, it is only the conversion of Paul, the experience Paul had, and the way Christianity developed from that point onward.
So you're telling me that because there was a
Danny, you're
guy.
muted.
I don't know why it keeps on doing that. Go ahead,
Weird. Go
Blitz.
ahead. No. I thought I was filling the silence.
What? Why does he believe that that Jesus was in fact revealed himself to Paul? Why do you believe that?
Well, on my perspective, my friend, the Bible was given to us as a guide for faith. Um, Taking that into consideration, Paul himself, as described in the Bible, was a guy that thought that Christianity was a blasphemy or was a behavior that God never approved, and he relentlessly pursued people outside Israel. But in the middle of his journey, he met Jesus, and then everything is switched 180 degrees, and he becomes a Christian himself, and he made a name for himself and his fellow apostles.
But why do you think Jesus revealing himself is the best explanation for that?
Based on the same descriptions, because the thing is that at this point, I am only using the Bible as the only source of evidence for what Paul did. I do not have anything else. Unlike, for example, the story of Jesus, there are many perspectives on what he was,
Like,
who he was.
in other words, let me give you a competing hypothesis, right? He had a weird experience that was, naturalistically explained or psychologically explained that
Right.
made him change his ways in his mind. What's wrong with that explanation?
The problem with the explanation, my friend, is if you follow the scriptures, at least from my perspective, if you follow the scriptures, he was not simply a madman yelling to people in the street. He was a man that was able to perform supernatural miracles that served like a backup for what he was preaching.
No, you're specifically saying, look, this guy went from killing Christians to like being one, and you want to
Yeah.
say Jesus actually appearing to him supernaturally is the best explanation. And I want to know, why should we favor that explanation over the explanation that I gave? And I see no reason to favor one over the other.
Yeah, as I said, the only possible way for Paul to have met Jesus, or for Paul history about Jesus to be believable, is that he was actually able to prove that he had or he was in contact with the supernatural.
No,
For
but that
example,
begs the question. That just begs the question, right? What's wrong with my hypothesis?
your hypothesis, as you said, is a naturalistic one. It is, for
Yeah.
example, if I go and tell you, "Hey, I saw Jesus in a vision," and then you say, "Hey, prove it to me," and I say, "I
No.
can't."
Here's the hypothesis, right? That he did have some kind of experience that one that's naturalistically explained that disposed him to change his mind, right? Is that possible? First, number one, it is possible. Number two, I don't know why that's less plausible than yours. In fact, it seems more plausible.
As I said, what makes it believable is the combination, not only of the experience, but the testimony itself.
I don't get it. Can someone? Or do y'all understand what he's saying?
No.
No.
Is the
I am
claim
sorry.
that
Okay.
the testimony is the claim that the account as described in the Bible says that it was a divine experience, and that gives you sufficient reason to think that it was indeed a divine experience?
No, it is the combination. Well, if we take the Bible as face value, if I go to you and then I say, "Hey, I met Jesus," and for example, I tell you something that only God will know, would you believe that? Would that be sufficient evidence for you?
No, probably
No.
not.
And okay, so
I mean, because the Bible
I
just says
understand.
things that are not true, right? So like if we're if
And the whole contention is that we don't take the Bible at face value, right?
Okay,
Like that's
okay.
like we don't think that everything that's written there is an accurate accounting of what happened, right?
Yeah, you can say that, but there is one thing that actually became true. If you do not believe in the whole Bible, it's okay. I understand that. But there is one particular thing that made true. It was that the Christian experience on its own developed in a way that it shouldn't have been, or it was
well, I disagree.
less likely to be.
No,
That's what I
I
am
think
trying
it
to say.
I think it developed identically to other mystery cults of the day. So for example, there's one mystery cult that I've pointed to a lot. And I don't want to necessarily say it was a mystery cult. It started as a resurrection cult. That's the cult to Aristeus. There was a guy named Aristeus who died in a fuller's shop, and he resurrected from the dead. He was seen by a multitude of witnesses, so much so that the Romans actually made a statue of him and set it up next to the statue of Apollo in one of the villages. And it's attested to in a bunch of the Roman histories, right? But I'm sure you don't believe that Aristeus rose from the dead and was deified, right?
Do you have like a biblical account for it? Sorry for the back noise. Is there something similar to the Bible in regards to that
Yep.
description?
Yeah, book
Uh,
4 of Herodotus's histories describes it. Pliny the Elder as well. We also have the history of Apollonius. We have Diodorus of Sicily, and Plutarch in Roman histories writes about the resurrection of Aristeus. So when I'm looking at this this cult around the resurrected Jesus, it just looks like any other, early resurrection cult.
the thing is that, for example, what you just did was do not wish to sound like an smarty pants. I am not. I just try to find, let's say, a possible explanation to what you said. Resurrection on itself does not necessarily mean uh, like or how can I say it? If somebody comes and tells me, "Hey, I saw a guy that was resurrected," and you tell me, "Okay, that person must have or must be in contact with the supernatural, or at least must have an understanding of reality that I clearly don't, because you and I do not have like those skills. We do not have the ability to die and then come back to life. So if there was a person that actually has that ability, I definitely wish to have a conversation with said person. But as far as I am concerned, the only message that was able to go through and spread against opposition was Christianity.
No,
For
there's a
example,
misconception here. First of all, if you're talking, are you talking about all the persecution in the first couple centuries of Christianity? Or is that what you're talking about?
yes.
Right. Well, first of all, that was never systematic, right? And it was never continuous, right? It was local in some regions in here. If anything, that contributed to its growth. Okay. Because martyrdom is
Yeah.
very, I mean, just look at the Charlie Kirk thing, right? Look at all the conservative Christians right now. They've created martyrs, right? And because the United States does not systematically oppress Christian conservatives, right? It actually causes a flourishing of, or at least a kind of, they're up sort of like active, more active than ever, at least for a little bit, right? The idea is that because it wasn't systematic, it was local, non-continuous, it actually contributed to the growth of Christianity because of our martyrdom.
And I agree with you what you said with that particular point. It was indeed systematic, because there was a point in time where it was a law not to be a Christian in the entire
That's
empire.
not the case at all.
It was a law.
I don't know who told you that,
I
but
think,
that's a lie.
Yeah.
Historically, is it not? What was his name? He was the emperor who was. I think he
You're talking
was
about Nero?
Constantine. No, Constantine the Great was the first one to
Constantine-
make.
Constantine
sorry, I am not sure. Go ahead.
Constantine made it an official recognized religion of the empire. And then
Yep.
his predecessors spread it by the sword. In fact, as early as his first predecessor, they were force baptizing Jewish people. They immediately went on a campaign of spreading it by the sword and by force. But that's why it's so big.
Oh.
It wasn't that big. In fact, the early opponents to Christianity, like you'll read in the writings of Celsus and Julian and some of the others, it wasn't that big actually. They were mostly tricking like old widows and people who didn't know any better. It wasn't until they spread it by the sword under the Holy Roman Empire that it became big.
All right. So
Which in fact
the
makes it a
only-
great example of something that survived in the face of persecution. Namely, the whole history of Jewish people for like the last 2,500 years has basically been exiled, returned, persecuted, survived, persecuted, survived. Like that's like the whole story. So
Yeah,
it
but
just
for example, if you notice the difference, now that you have made another example, the Jewish religion on itself is not, let's say, it has not attracted as many souls as Christianity have. Why do you think the reason is?
well, Judaism is not a proselytizing religion, meaning it doesn't seek out new converts. It's just like it's like a family thing. It's like you pass it down in your family and that's that. You don't like go
Is
to
that-
try to find new people.
What you say is something like it's based on the current tradition, right?
No, I would say that it's based off of family line and like it's because
but
it's like it's closer. Judaism is much more like a tribal tradition or like an ethnic tradition than it is like a religion in the Christian sense, and so it doesn't proselytize,
Alright.
it doesn't seek out new members. So that's why it hasn't grown.
But for example, Judaism on a specific level, do you believe that Judaism is just for the Jews, or the relation?
Kind of by definition, that's like, of course it is. That's kind of by definition. It's
Like,
a closed practice.
Is Christianity for Christians? Like, you know.
It is actually what I was trying to. The reason that I was making this question was because of a verse that you can find in Genesis. That is a promise that was made to Abraham. He never said, "Okay, so my pact is with you and your descendants," but he also said, "I am going to make in you all the families on earth blessed." Does that sound like something that's going to be tribal, or was the intention of God to make something out of Judaism?
I mean, we can debate the scripture if you want, and that's probably Justin's forte. The point is that Judaism, as a religious tradition, is a closed practice, right? That's just how it is.
As a tradition, that's the part where I agree. As a tradition, it's a closed practice, but
right, and the tradition is what the tradition is what Judaism is, right? Like you can say like, oh, it wasn't supposed to be based off of XYZ scripture, but that's just irrelevant for the claim.
And
Yeah,
it is relevant
also,
for the same
I want to
claim.
kind of, if you don't mind, I want to kind of recenter the conversation because I don't
that's a
think
good
we're
idea.
here to debate the way Judaism developed. What we're still trying to establish is what would be a good reason to believe that the Bible God is real. And it sounds like the initial argument is the Bible God must be real or else Christianity would have died out. But I don't find that to be a compelling argument because we could say the same about Mormonism. Mormonism must be real
Or Islam.
because they grew in the face of persecution and they didn't die out, right? So is there
The problem with Mormonism is that before they... Oh, I interrupted you. Please go ahead.
No, all I'm saying is like if if that's the measuring stick, is it survived in the face of persecution? I just don't find that to be a compelling argument, because we can say that about a bunch of different religions.
Well, the thing that I think it's the most compelling for me, aside from my initial statement, that it has to do with Jesus made him Paul. I understand that you guys do not believe that to be real, or that it could have never happened. It could have been just simply Paul might have eaten something, and then he had an hallucination, and that made him believe that he was doing wrong, and that made him turn 180 degrees. What, from my perspective, what makes his conversion believable
But we don't even know
was what,
that there was a guy named Paul who had a conversion. Like, you're at
yeah,
a different
that's
starting point than we are. Like, you would first have to demonstrate that conversion took place, and that Jesus appeared to Paul before we would merit any argument from it.
for example, my only let's say my only pillar to sustain that Paul ever existed was that the Bible said that. You can say that, oh, but there is
But the
also a book that's saying that Santa
But
exists,
the
right?
Bible says a lot of things that are not true. Like, even Paul's own conversion experience, it can't get the story right. In one story, the men all fell down when they saw the light. In another story, they remained standing. In one part of the book of Acts, it says that they saw the light, but they didn't hear the voice. In another part of Acts, it says they heard the voice, but they didn't see the light. Like, it can't even get its own story straight. Why would I trust it when it says that Jesus manifested to Paul?
I actually heard something similar, but another person in another period debunked it. Unfortunately, I do not have I did not prepare that specific topic for the conversation. I do
Well,
apologize for that.
I could
If
show
you
you
want,
the
I can try
specific
to read.
verses if you
All right,
want. So the specific
let's go to
verses
it.
are in Acts 9 and 22. And it says, he
Acts
fell to the
9.
ground and heard a voice saying to him, Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? And he asked, who are you, Lord? It's funny, who are you, Lord? The reply came, I am Jesus whom you are persecuting, but get up and enter the city and you will be told what you are to do there. The men who were traveling with him stood speechless because they heard the voice, but they saw no one. So they didn't see anything. They just heard a voice coming from the heavens, and they were just chilling over there standing. Acts 22, he says, I fell to the ground and heard a voice saying to me, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? I answered, who are you, Lord? Then he said to me, I am Jesus of Nazareth, whom you are persecuting. Now those who were with me saw the light, but did not hear the voice of the one who was speaking. So, like, the conversion story of Paul, if it's so foundational to the story, it's crazy to me that the same book, like Acts, is supposed to be one complete work. It can't even figure out what happened in the story. Why is there a contradiction in God's perfect word? Soul?
Nope. Is he there?
I think we lost him. I think he fell off the horse.
Sorry, can you guys hear
There
me?
he is. Mm-hmm.
We can hear you, yeah.
I apologize. I was trying to switch to another tab and then open the verses as you were speaking, and I was reading. Can you please repeat again the second verse in Acts? I think you said 22nd.
Yeah, it's in Acts 22, and you want verses 7 through 9.
7 to 9. Do I have like 30 seconds to read that quick?
Yeah, I could put it on the screen.
Thank you. Yeah, please go. Please do it.
Can you read the screen, or is the text too small? I can make it bigger.
I can only see your face in the tab that I am reading.
Oh, yeah, I know why. Never mind. Sorry, you. Next time we live stream, I'll hook it up so that you can see my actual screen, not just my camera. Sorry about that. But yeah, so the passage reads, now those who were with me saw the light, but did not hear the voice of the one who was speaking. That's 22:9. So it says they saw the light, but did not hear the voice. And then in Acts chapter 9, verse 7, It says the men who were traveling with him stood speechless because they heard the voice but saw no one. So in Acts 9, they heard the voice but they didn't see anything. In Acts chapter 22, they saw something but they didn't hear anything. I think we lost him again.
He's
No,
probably trying to read
I am
verse.
actually listening to you. I do apologize. Actually, as I said, there was a portion of the verse. I am not sure if this has to do specifically with the translation. I don't know if you can enlighten me about it as well. But like, there are instances where, let's say, when someone hears the spirits, and the spirit is willing to communicate something as a supernatural, let's say, experience. When someone hears the voice of the spirits, depending on the language the person speaks, they understand the spirit in the same manner. Now, one verse says that they heard a voice. The other verse says they were unable to. Now, what if they actually heard something but were unable to understand? And I know that this
It
sounds
didn't say
like
understand. Nope. It didn't say understand. It says hear.
it
Hear the
didn't say
voice.
understand. Yeah, that's one way to put it as well. I would like to know if the word used in the same verses is the same in Greek, for example. I don't know. I will have to seek that specific topic in another time. But what I try to say as well, for example, you say that the Bible is, for example, commit errors or says lies, and that God should make His word like perfect to the dot and the letter, right?
No, I agree that it shouldn't tell lies. So whether or not it's perfect, I think is different. But the Bible
Now,
clearly just
for,
says things repeatedly that are not true, which is leading me and I would say many others to the conclusion that the Bible literally can't be trusted. And even some of them are like deep theological untruths. So, for example, the Old Testament tells that the law of Moses is going to be in effect for literally ever, forever. And then Jesus comes by and says the same thing until heaven and earth passes away. Then Paul comes around and says, nope, it was temporary. It's not here forever. I'm not under the law. You're not under the law. Don't get circumcised. It's not good for you. This is a huge contradiction. Either the law is permanent or it's temporary, but it can't be both.
I have studied that specific issue, you could say. I was trying to make it I was trying to address the core of these problems on itself. The thing is that if you go, sorry for the background noise. There is a soccer. There is a soccer game, and there's a lot of people enjoying it and yelling in the background. And
It's okay.
My understanding of that, for example, is that the God in the Old Testament, it's like, or the Old Testament on itself, it's like the basics of the justice for God, or the moral compass for God. That means, for example, from my perspective, I just want to be clear. God's guidance to humanity is progressive. God reveals the information we need to grow spiritually in a progressive manner. As
Does the
He
Bible say that?
sees, as I said, it was my understanding, and I have, let's say, a specific verse to prove it. Go to Galatians 3:24.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm quoting. Paul says that the law was temporary. It was a temporary schoolmaster until Christ, which is a contradiction of Christ and of Yahweh. Yeah. Want me to show you? I can show you. Don't worry.
What it says is that the law is a tutor.
Yeah, temporary.
It is not
a temporary tutor until Christ.
To take us to Christ. It's not the same. For example,
it's not to take us to Christ. It says until. Hold on. It says until Christ. All right, which implies
Yeah.
that it's
My
temporary,
question,
right? So what? Hold
my
on.
question to you is,
Hold on,
if the
soul.
tutor,
Soul.
go ahead, sorry,
Take a deep breath.
sorry.
You don't have to explain Galatians 3. We already agree. Galatians 3 states that the law was temporary. You don't have to debate that point. The problem
No,
is not
because
that
it does not use the word temporal in
Oh
that
my
verse.
goodness. All right. Well, I'll just show you. Okay. The whole point of Galatians is demonstrating that the law was temporary. It says, now before faith came, we were imprisoned. Before, meaning there's something different happening now. Before faith came, we were imprisoned and guarded under the law until faith would be revealed. Therefore, the law was our disciplinarian until Christ came, which means now it's not a disciplinarian, so that we might be reckoned as righteous by faith. So Paul is saying that you don't need the law of Moses anymore, which is why he says in Ephesians 2:14 and 15 that the requirements of the law have been entirely abolished. That's why he says in 1 Corinthians 9:20 that even he is no longer required to follow the law of Moses. That's why he says in the same book we're reading now, he says that you should not take the mark of circumcision. He says if you take the mark of circumcision, Jesus Christ is of no use to you. This man did not believe that the law was still in effect. That makes the law temporary.
Shall I now go with my part?
I don't know what your part is.
Hello?
Are you going to address the passage?
Yes. Now, you said, for example, it was temporal. But for example, if a tutor comes to you and he teaches you and he says, hey, 1 + 1 = 2, and then he goes, are their teachings gone?
No one's asking if the teaching still exists. We're asking, should people follow it? No one's claiming that the law, like the writings of the law, disappeared. The question is whether or not God wants you to follow the law.
The purpose of the law, as I said, was to be a tutor, was to teach us the basics.
No one cares.
But
the question at hand is not whether or not it teaches anyone anything. The question is whether or not you should follow it. Should the law still be in effect?
That's the point. The laws are still in effect as long as you believe that the laws are the only thing to follow.
Well, that's literally incorrect, because Paul says,
no.
For he is our peace. In his flesh he has made both into one and has broken down the dividing wall, that is the hostility between us, abolishing the law with its commandments and ordinances. Paul explicitly says that the law has been abolished, its commandments and its ordinances, which is why he says in 1 Corinthians 9:20 that I myself am not under the law. He's a Jew, he's a Hebrew of Hebrews. If Paul is not under the law, then nobody's under the law.
That's the thing. Being under the law means that you guide your life only through the law. But the point with Christianity is that, yes, sir. Because the point of the law, and this is the description, can you please allow me to elaborate?
You can elaborate, but every time you say something wrong, I'm just going to say you're wrong.
And can you please wait until I explain it for you to, let's say, counter argument?
Sure, yeah, go ahead and lie to the audience, but it's not going to make the conversation go any quicker.
According to Paul, what is the purpose of, well, you and I established that it was a tutor, but the purpose of the law is to make the sin visible. That is the purpose of the law. Go ahead. I'm going to give you the verse. Just a second.
No, but I don't care what Paul says. I'm trying to help you to understand that Paul doesn't agree with Jesus or with the Old Testament. Jesus said to follow the commandments. He says, in order to be great in the kingdom of heaven, you must follow the law and teach the law. His father in Deuteronomy said on 4 different occasions that the law is going to be in effect forever.
No.
Want me to show you the verse?
Provide you with the counter argument?
I'm going to read the verse for you because it's clear you haven't read it, and that's okay. Most Christians don't read their Bibles. We're used to that.
Please allow me to counter argument.
In Matthew 5:17, Jesus says, "Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come
Mm-hmm.
to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass away from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same
Mm-hmm.
will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven, which means in order to be great in the kingdom of heaven, you need to follow the commandments. You got to follow the law.
No.
That's what
The
he said.
point is the following. No. The point is the following. You're missing something.
What am I missing?
You're
Give me
exactly.
the verse.
You already know the verse. It is the verse when the rich person spoke to Jesus.
And Jesus
he
says,
said,
follow the commandments.
That's right. But when he said follow the commandments, what was the response of the rich man? He said, all of those things I have done it since I was young. And what was Jesus' response? One thing is missing.
He
Go
says,
and
if you
give
want to be
everything-
perfect.
All right. Yep.
So if you want to be perfect, you must follow the commandments and sell all your possessions to the poor. Two things I bet you've not done.
No, go ahead and continue the verse until the end.
Why?
Because
didn't we just read it?
No, you haven't. You're missing one part.
Where in the story of the rich young ruler does he say not to follow the law?
No. It's not that. It's that you're missing something.
I agree, but missing something doesn't mean you don't follow the law. To be clear, he not once did Jesus say don't follow the law. Like if he's saying follow the law and then also do this. Follow the law and then also follow the law and then also do this, which means Jesus thinks you should follow the law.
And what else? But because you're only focusing on the law. But Jesus does not focus only on the law.
That's the topic. No, the topic is about the law. The question we're trying to determine right now is whether or not you should follow the law. Jesus says you should follow the law. Paul says you shouldn't follow the law. Paul says that it was abolished. Jesus says it's not abolished. That's a direct contradiction.
No, it is not. And I was going to tell you why. When the rich man said to Jesus, yes, I have done that since I was young. The response provided by Jesus, one thing you're missing, go and sell all your belongings and then give them to the poor and follow me.
That still doesn't address the question. The question is, should you follow the commandments? I don't know if you're tracking right now. No one's asking whether you should follow Jesus.
I am.
We're asking, should the followers of Jesus follow the law? Should the followers of Jesus follow the law? Yes or no?
It addresses the exact same question.
So
what do I have to do?
So say yes or no. Should the Christians follow the law?
Not just the law.
Try again. Should they follow the law? Yes or no?
The law and Jesus.
Try again. Should they follow the law of Moses? It's a yes or no.
Search for the following verse. Who are, according to Paul, those who are going to go to heaven?
Wait, does the law oppose Jesus?
The law complements Jesus.
That's not what I asked, though. Does the law oppose Jesus?
No, it does not.
Okay, so then why do you have to caveat that? Oh, wait, should you just not follow? It's not just that you should follow the law; you should follow Jesus. There's no inconsistency between them. So you could have just answered his question as yes.
Because the law is not Jesus.
Okay, so let's ask Justin's question again. Okay,
all right.
True or false, or yes or no? You ought to follow the law.
I'm going to tell you this: if you follow Jesus,
no. You can. Don't worry. We'll let you explain, but say yes or no, or you can challenge the coherence of the question, and then explain.
Yeah, I wish to challenge the coherence of the question because Jesus said, for example,
you don't know if the question "should you follow the law" is coherent. That's crazy.
The thing is that the question leads to a frame response.
No, it
And a
doesn't.
response that is not.
It needs to be a
Yeah,
yes,
because
no, or an I don't know. The question is, according to Jesus, should
now
you
let me try.
follow the law? This is not a hard
Now,
one.
the point is the following.
Okay, so
Um,
yes.
the point is the following. Only
Oh.
Jesus was the
So
only one who could
to
follow.
be clear,
who could-
that's not only is that not true, but it's also not an answer to the question. You don't get to say more words until you say yes or no.
Here, let's
If
do it this
you
way.
have
Let's do it this way. I think I can force it, right? What is the law?
the
What is a
law,
law? Is the law a moral law? What is the law? Define law here in this context.
the context provided by Paul is that the law determines what sin is.
What is the law?
That's
Is
all.
the law the will of God or something different?
The law, let's say, is the bare minimum to consider someone fair.
Okay, is the law the will of God or something different?
Let's say that is the bare minimum when it comes to God's will according to justice.
Okay, so the law is more or less God's will.
It is, let's say, part of God's
Okay,
will.
so whatever God's will, should you obey God's will?
I shall obey God's will in its entirety.
All right, so that
Now,
includes the part that is the law. So the answer to the question is yes, and you've been obfuscating.
the reason that I cannot say, and I'm going to explain, the reason that I cannot say that I should follow the law only is because
I
nobody
didn't
can.
know. No one said only, Soul. No one's asking about only. I don't know why you keep adding that. We're
I
asking, should you
understood
follow
only.
it?
Sorry. I understand that it was only. I am sorry.
Not once did we
So,
say only.
now
So
to
question
answer
is,
if
should you follow the law? It's a yes or no.
the response for that, my friend, is that if we try, we will fail.
Okay,
That's not an answer to the
sorry.
question.
Say yes or no, and then say yes or no.
That's the thing, my friend. If I tell
He
you
can't say it because
yes,
he knows
then
the answer leads to a contradiction. He's too cowardly to admit it.
And not just
no,
that,
no,
he
no.
said that
I
the
am not.
law. Wait, you said that the law was part of God's will, and that you ought to
Yes,
obey the entirety of God's will. So if you
yes,
say no, right, you're screwed because then you're saying to disobey a subset of God's will. If you say yes, Justin gets you with his argument, right? So
Yeah.
that's the dilemma.
uh-huh.
And to be clear, your
Now,
pivot doesn't
the
work either because Luke chapter 1 says Zechariah and Elizabeth were righteous according to all the commands of the law. It says both of them were righteous before the Lord, living blamelessly according to all the commandments and the regulations of the Lord. So even your pivot fails. So stop trying to pivot and just say yes or no. Should you follow the law? It's a yes or no.
the answer will be the thing is as follow. If I
Okay,
tell you
so here's what's going to happen. Every time you respond with something other than a yes or no, I'm going to mute you, right? I don't want to have to mute people. I want you to be honest, right? But I'm not here for dishonest dialogue. Like, never once would we take an easy yes or no question and just refuse to answer it. So if you're refusing to engage in dialogue with us, we'll refuse to engage in dialogue with you. So again, what we need is either a yes or a no. Should you follow the law of Moses?
yes, if you wish to fail,
No one asked that question. Does Jesus want you
that
to
is
follow
the
the
only
law?
answer.
Does
That
Jesus
is
want you to
a
follow?
biblical
Does
answer.
Does Jesus want you to follow the law?
Do you want me to prove to you that is a biblical answer?
I want you to answer the question. Does Jesus want you to follow the law?
And I am answering according to the scriptures.
You're not.
Jesus,
You need to say yes or
Maybe,
no.
look, maybe I can phrase it a different way that'll be easier for you to answer. If you went back in time and you found Jesus on the streets of Jerusalem and you asked him, should we follow the laws of Moses, what would he say?
in this specific question, am I a Jew?
Sure.
He would say yes. But
Okay,
he
now
will
what if
also
you were
say,
not a Jew and you were a
he will
follower of
also
his? What if
say,
you were a Greek follower of his?
you're avoiding the response.
No, so
No.
you
He will say,
answered you answered one half, which is if you're a Jew, he would say yes. Now, if you were a non-Jew, what would he say?
But the thing is that you already answered the question.
What a coward!
rich man
Answer the
who-
question, Soul. You're insufferable.
Why is it so hard to answer the question? So you're a non-Jew. You're
My
a Greek.
friend, I am not.
You
I
ask
am not a
you're one of
coward.
the followers of Jesus. You ask him,
I
look,
know.
should we be following the laws of Moses?
And I am saying to you, there was a rich man that approached Jesus who was a Jew. What was
We
his
just read
response?
the story.
Do
All
you
right,
ha-
we're done
look,
here.
Look, I'm
Yep.
okay.
This
Please,
is over.
thank you.
Sorry.
I've been done for the last 20 minutes for what it's worth.
Yeah, we're not going to do that ring around a rosy anymore. Soul, you need to learn how to have a conversation, my friend. All right, let me grab our super chats. We'll get our next guest in here. I think Jeremiah was coming in next. Discordant, great to see you. Thank you for the $6.99. Says, woke up, got out of bed, bumped my head, and invented a religion. Paul the Walrus. Actually, I do believe that Paul's conversion was like a legitimate near-death experience. I think he fell off his horse, bumped his head, had the supposed near-death experience, and he was a madman the rest of his life because of it. It wrecked him. Oh, I think he was probably always a madman, though. Nucleo Tidal Wave, great name, and thank you for the 666. Hail Nero says, love you guys, but I have some bad news for Justin. The Lions are cooking the Browns right. No, sorry, not
The
sorry.
Lion the Lion does not concern himself with the Browns.
To be fair, listen, everyone's going to cook the Browns this year. It's just
Look,
it's one of those
terminally
things.
online people caught the reference I just made. I understand that Justin might not be terminally online.
I'm sorry. Not only am I not terminally online, I'm a boomer, so these references are right over the.
Understandable.
Thank you, though. Shaq, thank you for the super chat. Says he thinks he is the chosen one. TT, Jesse the boy. You mean is that somebody in the comments?
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either. Thank you for the super chat, though. And Judas, thank you for the super chat. Says, may the foreskins be with you. Jesus, that's definitely a Jesus quote, actually. Oblivion says, Justin, explain Luke 23:34 if we are under the law. I mean, did you not just read the passages where Jesus clearly said to follow the law because it's in effect until heaven and earth pass away? But sure, I'll go to Luke 23:34, which I assume doesn't even quote Jesus. Let's see what it says. Then Jesus says, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing, and they cast lots to divide his clothing. Surely that's not the passage you were looking for. Maybe you're reading the wrong Bible. Good try, though.
Maybe it's in the wrong order.
It could be it. It could be it.
I feel like a lot of verses in the Bible, you could just randomize the order and it would be the same.
It's true.
Like, not all of them, surely, but definitely there are big chunks that you could just randomize the verses and it would contain the same meaning.
If you compare the chronology of, like, Luke and John, the chronology is way off. Like, the cleansing of the temple is in the second chapter of John, but the cleansing of the temple in the other Gospels is, like, the last thing he does prior to the Olivet Discourse. So it's backwards. Kay says, oh, my God, Danny, I heckin' love Danny. And we agree. Big W, Danny.
I'm trying to behave today, so.
We appreciate it. Although, for what it's worth, your misbehavior is probably what brings the audience.
I was about to lose it on that other guy, but I almost lost it on the other guy.
So Soul was aggravating. I think the other guests weren't quite as aggravating, at least for me.
I'm talking about Soul. That guy, the Soul guy.
He was just straight up dishonest. Jeremiah, welcome in. Are you at least 18, and do you believe in God?
Yes. Well, I think that's what I could kind of like defer, because I believe in being watched, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know how to really explain that except for my experience with it.
Watched by what?
Okay, so just to like start off, like it might be a waste of time, like even just being here, because the only evidence I got is my testimony.
Oh boy, yeah, you're right. That was a good call.
Okay.
It's a good call, so we appreciate you being here. But we are going to move on because, testimony is not particularly compelling to other people, right?
Right. Thanks for coming, though, Jeremiah.
Right. Who's next?
At least he was nice and honest about it. Let me grab.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Oop! I accidentally clicked the wrong person because it came in as I was clicking and it moved the goalpost. So looks like now it's Vale. How you doing, Vale?
I'm doing all right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Vale, are you at least 18 and do you believe in God?
I am 36 and I believe in intelligence.
We do too.
You believe in a divine intelligence?
I believe you could attach labels to it if you chose, if you needed to understand it. I think that's why we do attach labels to it, because it's heavy to carry without some kind of psychological mechanism.
Is the intelligence a creative entity that has thoughts and feelings and created the world?
I think so, yes. I do a lot of research on this very subject. I'm working with things like convergence, emergence, sentience, relativity. That's kind of my fun thing that I do when I'm not working. So I work when I'm not working. And actually, I wanted to speak earlier. You guys were talking about law, and you then displayed law in its purest form in a very beautiful way. You said if you are going to refuse, so if you're going to present refusal to answer a question,
well,
honestly,
we're not worried about the last guest. The last guest is
no,
gone. We're worried about you
it's a
substantiating
point I'm making.
your argument.
It is my substantiation. This is how law works. You said if you're the law,
Jewish law?
No, just law.
Okay, we weren't talking about law simpliciter. We were talking about the law in the context of Judaism and Christianity.
Okay, so let's talk about the law in context of Judaism and Christianity then, because it's all the same.
You know a lot about that?
Yes.
All right. What books express the law in Judaism?
It depends on if you mean by like the Torah, like the Old Covenant version of law, or if you are expanding into Christianity into the New Covenant of law.
All right. What do you want to tell us about the Torah?
I would say that the Torah was a composition of allegory.
Right. I didn't ask the right question. I meant like why would we want to know anything from you about the Torah? Like what's relevant about it in the context of what we're asking, whether God is real or not?
I would say I could best answer that question if you simply ask me something you're curious about the Torah, something you don't believe, something that bothers you.
Do you accept the Torah?
I accept that the Torah is a representation of truth. I don't accept that the Torah is the truth.
All right. What is something that you accept as the truth? I'm not interested in representations of the truth. What is something you accept as the truth?
The whole composition of the conversation, i.e., religion and text and law, is a representation of the truth. It's kind of a diffused thing where it's like some of this is right and some of that is right, and you have to take them all, and you have to take science and art, you have to take all of it, and you have to find the green line that can make it all the way through.
Okay, what do we disagree about? What do we disagree about? What do we disagree about?
I would say that you come more from a place of there is no intelligence and disorder is kind of the functionality of everything. I would say that.
Who believes that? Wait. First of all, I don't believe that. We both believe that there's intelligence. We agree on that. And I don't think everything is. I think some things are organized, some things are not organized. So what is something that we disagree about?
So far, we do not disagree.
All right, there it is.
However, I would say we're not finishing. No, I don't. That's where we disagree. Thank you. We found it.
Okay, so do you think that the intelligence is responsible for creating or sustaining the universe?
Yes and no. He made it to. The law is self-propagating, so he kind of made it to sustain itself.
Is the law the intelligence? Is he the law?
I would say the law is intelligent. Yes.
What does that mean?
I would say
a law is a rule or a description of regularity or something like that. These are not things
I
that
would
possess
say
intelligence.
I would say that something more like this is what happened. You could look at God as both a single particle of matter and antimatter that at an initial instant, when God was sentient, when God was conscious, that was in fact a bad thing to do, and he knew it was a bad thing to do. So in essence, God sinned. That started everything. 0 turned into 1, off turned into on, and then it went back off. So
I
in
don't
essence,
I
God
don't
is
understand
dead.
any of this.
In essence, God exploded as soon as he opened his eyes. He blew up the meth lab on accident as soon as he opened his eyes. Done. God is
What
dead. We are the
what does
explosion in
this even
progress.
mean?
We're the lights, we're the sounds, we're the colors, if that makes sense. It's
No.
all over. It's all over and it's in progress. So
It sounds like
that's
you're just contradicting yourself.
how so.
Well, you said it's over, which means that it's not in progress. The progress has
Yes.
terminated. And then you've also
Yes,
said
it
that it's
already
in
yes.
progress.
It
So it
already
can't be
blew up.
both,
It
at least
already
in the
blew
same
up.
sense.
If someone shoots a gun a mile away, do you hear it? Is it still shooting? That's what I'm saying. The gun's already fired. We're just the effect of that. We're just the consequence of the action. We're the reaction. It's law. That's how law works. It's
Okay, so
physical.
look, is there anything that you could give us that would justify this point of view that you hold?
Lots and lots of things, but it would take lots and lots of time. I've got math. I've got
Okay, give us
physics.
the best one you got. The best piece of evidence you have that there was an intelligence that exploded itself into us. I don't know why, but because he minimized the app. We can't hear you when you minimize the app, by the way.
My bad. I'm looking for the best piece of evidence that I could give you, and I believe
What
it's
do you mean you're
simply.
looking for it?
Well, I
Like,
have notes
oh, okay.
and pictures and files, and I'm like, well, what's the best possible words I could use? So I'm looking for those in my notes real quick because I know what they are. I just want to make sure I say them right, if that makes sense.
I've got a document that a friend of mine lent me that might be helpful in your excursion. This is the quantum woo spreadsheet. We might be able to identify where you fall
Wait a minute.
in the
You need
quantum
to send
woo
this to me.
spectrum.
What? Where did
That's
this come
amazing.
from?
It's been all my life.
Carnage Asada, a friend of the community, made this for the quantum woo believers. We can even measure which
You
cosmic
need to send this to me
deity.
immediately.
I mean, it's an amazing piece of work. But anyways, I think we could probably identify you at least as Jupiter on the quantum woo spreadsheet. How do you think you're falling?
It's very blurry. I cannot see it, but I'm sure I'm on there somewhere, aren't we all?
That is
We're sure
unfortunate.
too. We're sure about
I
that.
try not to be.
But here's the.
We all should try not to be, but we're all there somewhere.
No,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
not all there.
Yeah, that might not be the case. Well, listen.
Maybe at 0. Is there 0%? In which case I might be there.
Yes, there would be a 0 and a 100 and everything in between. That's how it works.
Right.
That's law.
Okay.
Well, anyway, you said that you were looking for the best piece of evidence. Find anything yet?
Okay, so you can't even hear me when I slide you up. Yes, I did.
No. Yeah, go ahead.
Trying to find a way to be able to say it and look at it. Because if I even slide up so I can see both things, you can't hear me anymore. And
So
it's too
look
many
at it,
things.
think about it, and then reopen the TikTok app, and then say the thing that you were thinking about.
These people need to be studied. I mean, like, is it that they like certain words, and then they want to relate them, or?
Well, I think
Creation
once you've
when
found
seen through the
your
lens of
home on the
deletion.
quantum
Hold on,
solar
let him
resonance.
go. Let him go. Let him cook.
Oh, he's gone.
You were saying?
I
Vale, you
was
were saying?
saying once you've
Creation when seen through the logic of deletion cannot be passive but an act of will is the best way I think I can say it.
What does that
Creation
mean?
through deletion? What? That's a contradiction.
No, it's not. It's saying that if you create, you're gonna fuck up. You're gonna hit the delete key. You need the delete key. It's a thing. If it goes on, it has to go off. If it goes up, it has to come down. If it goes down, somebody's gonna pick it up again. It's a wave.
What do you think a wave is?
Depends on the context. Are we at the ocean or are we in the studio?
What kind of
Sine
a
wave,
wave
sound
are
wave,
you referring
light
to?
wave.
The ocean studio?
Waves. It's all the same. Waves. A wave is a wave is a wave is a wave. That's why we call things waves.
Are creations waves?
Look, so generally a good piece of evidence would be something like, I think XYZ is true because, and then after because you say something like, this piece of empirical data says so, or this deductive argument implies it, or this piece of historical evidence indicates
we
it.
would have to go
or
we would have to go
something
through
like that.
we would have to go through like 36 years of lived experience and education in the last few months of my work, and that's a lot of math and physics and science and art and history, and it's a lot.
I have a feeling the math doesn't add up. I don't think the math is mathing for anyone.
It absolutely
the
absolutely
guy
does.
in the bottom
feel free
box
to check out.
literally
feel free to
wrote the math on the board behind you. That's just not a pretty picture. This guy knows math, and I can assure you your math isn't going to math.
It does math, and you're welcome to check out my page anytime because I share my work. That's what I would love help with my work, thoughts, especially if you know math. I could really use your help because what I'm finding is a lot of people can explain and do math. They don't understand they're explaining or doing. They just don't have the mathematical language to tell a mathematician that.
Yeah, I believe that Dr. Blitz only knows the formulas. He doesn't know what he's doing.
No, I'm saying that your average bear is accidentally doing Boolean algebra, and they don't realize they're doing that, and they couldn't tell you they were doing
algebra?
Yeah.
What the fuck is Boolean algebra? That's a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm telling you that the average bear is probably accidentally doing that functionally and applying it in ways that are causing effects, but they just don't know that they are doing a Boolean process. They don't understand they couldn't tell you that. They don't even know what Boolean algebra is while
that's not really relevant. I mean, like, look, so the question is what's the piece of evidence, the most compelling piece of evidence that you could offer? Like, for example, if I made the claim that I got married to my wife, if I made the claim I got married to my wife, then I could present you a piece of evidence like, here's a video of it happening, or I could go point to my wife living in the house with me, right? Like,
iteration proves the law.
Okay, so apparently I didn't hear anything Blitz said, but apparently Boolean logic or Boolean in math is just logic gates for engineers. So I see what you mean by Boolean logic.
It's closely related. Is he out of the app again?
Okay, no, I muted him because he was talking over you and I couldn't hear what you said, and then he got a bunch of background noise, which made it even worse. But I'm hoping he's going to unmute himself here in a second.
All right, I'm sorry about that. I realized, I guess, what my proof is that you might understand as a proof, or understand what I'm saying better than I do even. Iteration is a proof of law. Recursion is the race car. So it's like a road and a race car. Like the environment that defines what the race car has to do is law.
What's it mean to be a proof of law? How is something a proof of law?
How is any of this evidence for any of this?
Okay, because 2 plus 2 equals 4. Can we all agree on that?
Sure.
Okay, now that is a man-made expression of a concept that absolutely exists that we needed to express. 4 was 4, even if we never named it 4, even if we never learned math, even if we never made it out of the Stone Age. 4 was 4 because 4, that's an example of law proving itself. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't argue with me about it.
Okay, therefore God. Therefore God. What's going on? Therefore God.
And math is intelligent. So in order for that to be the basic principle of existence, that things just are what they are, there has to be intelligence. It had to be designed.
Yeah,
you can't take apart a
that
Rolex.
Conclusion by no means follows any of the vague premises that you laid out before.
You can't take a Rolex apart and put it in a bag and shake up the bag and get the Rolex back. You have
Yeah,
to take the parts out of
nobody
that.
said that is the case. Clearly, you got concussed on the
So
way
could
in.
you
That
put
happens
could you
sometimes. It's
put could you
okay,
put an
but
electron in a bag? Could you take an
The
electron apart
yes,
and put it
you
in
can
a
put
bag?
it.
the doorway's kind of low.
Yeah,
Sometimes like tall kings hit their heads.
that certainly is a thing. And Vale, listen, as fun as this was, I don't think this conversation is going to go anywhere, and we're basically out of time at this point. We appreciate you coming up and showing your quantum woo for us. You're definitely at 100% on the quantum solar resonance index. So big W for, I don't know, free thinking. Maybe is that the call that free thought? I don't know. Garba Gaming, thank you for the $5 super chat, my friend. Says even lies are a representation of the truth because truths about reality are required. Truths, sorry, plural, about reality are required to tell a lie. Just semantic woo-woo. Yeah, I mean, I certainly could see that. This is something Jordan Peterson would say. He would say the Bible is true because it reveals truths about human nature, not that it's factually true. You know, that kind of nonsense. Hex, thank you for the $5 super chat. It says this guy just maxed out the quantum woo meter. A wave is a wave is a wave is a wave. Yes. Yes, that is indeed the case. And you can measure your wave on the Mysterium Solar Resonance Index. You just have to know how to do the measurement properly. And Judas, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. It says up, up, down, down, left, right will unlock bears doing linear algebra. I think you need the BA start at the end of that to finish the Konami cheat code. I could be wrong. But certainly, see, I was a nerd, but long before you guys were nerds. It's just my nerd jokes
You
are
were a
old.
nerd when it wasn't cool.
I know. I was a nerd when he got stuffed in lockers.
Imagine.
Well, thank you so much for that, Judas. That is some certainly linear algebra. And with that, friends, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate all the kindness and support. If you're not already following Danny, and because there's like almost 700 people here still, follow Danny. I can't imagine you'd be following us and not Danny yet, but please drop Danny a follow on TikTok and on YouTube. And if you haven't seen Danny cook Jordan Peterson on Jubilee, by all means, it's the best clip of 2025. You'll love it. So make sure you check out that clip. And friends, anything else to add?
I don't think I have anything going on. Danny, do you have anything going on this week?
Not really, but thanks for having me on. It was fun.
And we loved
Was
it.
it though?
Great to have you.
Yeah. No, there were some good people. I like talking to good people.
The first half seemed like it was pretty good, yeah. The second half, well, we'll let the people decide in the comments, but
I just don't like a lot of people think I mean, there might be of course very good political objections to Christianity, but when I do lives, I want to talk to Christians because at least I can hold them to a standard, like whether it be Bible or tradition. But these woo-woo people, like literally, it's just like I can't. It's like trying to talk to
It's like talking to a avocado.
Yeah, that's the one good thing about Christians is that you can hold them to a standard, right? With that, right? Like, I can't do it with these other people. Like, it's just like it's too much work.
It gets very squirmy.
Yeah.
Well, listen, friends, thank you so much for being here. We'll be here again next week, same time, same place. And we really appreciate all the support through super chats and likes and shares. Thank you for smashing the like button.